Thank you, Chair. I will start by taking roll of committee members. Supervisor Joe Baca.
Joe Vaca Jr. present. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Supervisor Joe Baca Jr. Thank you.
Joe Vaca Jr. is present. I'm here.
Thank you. The Honorable Brian Beck. Mr. Isaiah Barber. Isaiah Barber. Carol Biondi.
Here, present.
Dr. BJ Davis.
I'm here.
Thank you. And Dr. Carly Durkheim. Here. Thank you. Good to see you in person. Michael Duncan.
Present.
Hey, good to hear from you, Michael. Thank you. I'm here, Christian. Michelle Guyman. Here. Thank you. Susan Sands. Susan Sands. Monte Magic McKay. Magic. Chair Mendoza. Here. Dr. Porter, Dr. Takoy Porter, Senior. He was looking to join us in person, so maybe he'll pull up here shortly. We'll come back to Dr. Porter. Tyreek Ship. Thank you. Dr. BJ Davis. Wait. We go back to, is that called already?
Yeah, you already called me, please.
Yeah, I did.
He's pretty important, though. I think you ought to call him twice.
Yes, indeed. I agree. I have him here. Oh, right there. Perfect. Dr. Mimi Silver. Mimi Silver. Oh. Monte McKay. I'm being told that he's present. Monte McKay. Okay, audio is having difficulties. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And Dante Williams. Dante Williams. Okay, this concludes roll call. I will turn it back to Chair Mendoza to see if we have quorum for today. How many people do we have? We do have it? We reached it? Okay, we do have quorum. Thank you for everybody in attendance. For those that were able to make it in person, really appreciate you guys being here. We have a good session to go to today. Our next item, as I pass it back to Chair Mendoza, will be to approve. Oh, there's Monte.
Roll call for him.
Monte McKay. Present?
Your audio's messed up.
Maybe just raise your hand, then we can see you now.
Okay, we're good. We should be good.
Good?
We're good.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass it to Chair Mendoza now. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And again, thanks everybody for being here, virtually and in person. Thank you so much. Now let's go into our first action item, which is to approve our minutes from the September SACJJDP meeting. Can I have a motion to approve by someone, please?
Supervisor Baca moves.
Motion by Carly Dickinson. Do you want to second it? Who was the person?
I'll second it. Baca will second it.
And second by Baca. And yeah, and I'll pass it to Franco so you could lead the vote on that.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, there it is now. Sorry. Bear with me as you're gonna hear my voice a few times call this roll. So to approve the minutes for September, we're gonna go through roll call again. Supervisor Joe Baca to approve.
Supervisor Baca, aye.
Honorable Brian Beck.
Aye.
Carol Bondi. Carol Biondi.
I was muted. Yes, I'm here. Present.
No, it's a vote, Carol.
What?
They're
We're voting
voting
on the
on the
minutes for
minutes for the
September?
last meeting.
Do you approve of our minutes for September?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. BJ Davis,
I,
Dr. Dirkheisen? Michael Duncan,
Aye.
Christian Franco, aye. Michelle Guyman? Susan Sands? Monty McKay? Monte, aye. Still difficulty with the audio, okay. Chair Mendoza? Dr. Porter, Senior? Maybe on his way. Tyreek Ship? Dr. Mimi Silbert? Dante Williams? Okay, thank you very much. And with that, I will pass it back to Chair Mendoza.
Was that enough votes? It was, right? Yes, okay, we're good then, all right. Well, now we could go to chair updates by me and Vice Chair Christian. I don't have no updates, but I did just want to say that I just want to thank everybody for the whole year of committing to being part of the SACJJDP. I know that it was my first year as the chair of this committee, and I feel honored and blessed to have at least, hopefully I led this body good all this year. And I just want to encourage us for next year, when we resume to these meetings, that, encourage people to make time, make it on your schedule where we can be here in person, I think it's always good to be in person, and challenge us to maybe promote this even more. I would love to see more audience participation. This is a challenge for members and always our staff. But other than that, I just want to say, I want to thank everybody for just this amazing year, working hard on the subcommittees, being on these meetings, showing up. This is how volunteer work, but it's very important work. And, we have a lot of amazing collective minds in this room and in this virtual reality right here. And I think that we can do a lot of great things. And I'm just very proud of all the subcommittees. When I hear about subcommittee updates, that is the work that we're doing. So just want to thank everybody for the work that you are doing. No real updates for me. Just want to say I'm grateful to be a part of this, and I hope that next year we are even better. And but I don't know, if Vice Chair, do you have any updates you want to share?
No updates, thank you.
But other than that, if there's any other any comments, I see Carol beyond your hand. up.
Yes,
You have
I
any
just,
comments?
I just want to thank you, Kent, and you're very, very capable vice chair for really upping our game and finally accomplishing the kinds of things that I've wanted to see for years. I think you're doing an outstanding job, and I think the committees are doing an outstanding job. And we are, we're on the way to really being able to make an impact. And I'm grateful and thankful, and I'm sure we all are. I do want an opportunity in the meeting, if you could tell me when. I want to remove delinquency from our title. I think it's a word that isn't even used anymore, and I'd like to be able to consider that. I don't know how complicated it is, but every time I read it, I cringe, and I don't think it's necessary. So I don't know what the appropriate time is to have a discussion like that, but I would really like to remove that word. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for those comments. And I actually agree with that too. I mean, if we could figure out how to explore that. I know that when me and Vice Chair Christian Franco reviewed the 3-year plan, I didn't do a lot of edits to that, but one of the main edits that I did throughout the whole document, I changed the word juvenile to youth, or I changed that word youth from juvenile to youth, because I just felt like using the word juvenile, it's a little bit, I'm trying to get away from the way we look at youth, how we treat youth, and this also starts with language, so I know that
Yeah, but
that's the change
it's
that I made.
fine at the ending committee on juvenile justice.
Yeah, for sure. No, but I'm just saying, like, I'm just adding to your, I agree what you were just saying. I feel like, I don't know what will be a good next steps. I'm looking at OICR staff, Fatima, just said everybody, like, I would like to figure out how maybe that's something we could focus on next year. And yes.
One of the things, of course, that pops to my mind is that it's based on the JJDPA Act, which is, of course, the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act. So, but I think most other SAGs in the country just call themselves the SAGs, the
Yeah,
State Advisory.
I suggested that years ago.
Yeah.
We go back to what our
Okay.
legislative name is, but I was ignored. And if we have to stick with this one, I think we have to drop delinquency prevention.
Yes, I think definitely let's put that for the side and let's definitely come back to that. I don't know if OICR has anything to say on that, but I know Franco has something to say too, but does anybody have anything to say to that? But I do want to explore that next year.
Through the chair, OICR staff can put this on the agenda for the meeting next time. And we could, as Member Biondi said, we could be called the State Advisory Group or State Advisory Committee on Youth Justice. That's perfectly fine to do.
Cool, it's gonna be done. Cool, thank you.
State
Yeah,
advisory on youth justice. That sounds good. State
So
advisory on youth
I'll
justice.
pass it to my vice chair for any other updates, chair updates, and then we'll wrap it up.
No real updates, just, also echoing what Mr. Mendoza, Chair Mendoza, just said, we have a bunch of empty seats here, to those that are, joining us, through the teleworld, joining through Zoom. We have many seats here to come and, break bread and, build, as we move this work forward. What a accomplishment to have the OICR developed. To see this work grow from CYA to DJJ to now the secure youth track facilities, and the work that's being poured into each county. So a lot of stuff to work on, but just very grateful for us to be here and to be building. But we would like more people to be here in person and to join this juvenile justice committee. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, and I will be stepping up for like at 12 o'clock for an important call, just FYI. But now I'm gonna turn it to Crystal Lewis to share a few of our updates from OICR and to facilitate the discussion of our next order of business. And I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Chair Mendoza. All right, so before our next order of business, I would like to share some updates from our office. So OICR, Office of Youth and Community Restoration, for those that don't know, we're also a part of the Health and Human Services Agency. So as an office of Health and Human Services Agency, we're integrating initiatives from the agency, and they include youth justice adolescents so that they can be beneficiaries to health access. So one of those programs is the CalAIM Justice Involved Initiative, which allows for Medi-Cal reimbursed services to begin 90 days before youth leaves custody and continue thereafter in order to bridge services for success. So as of 2 days ago, the 15th, the counties that have been approved for this initiative include Inyo, Kern, Monterey, Nevada, San Diego, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Siskiyou, Sutter, and Yuba. And a few other counties will be starting January 1st of 2026, while most will start October 1st of 2026. So that is one of the updates we wanted to share out with you from our office. Now, there's other highlights I wanted to share just regarding the work of the Title II program, which is the program that this committee supports and provides oversight for. So we have executed 12 grants, contracts for grantees. And this is the continuing grantees that we received from the previous state agency. So we're continuing that work. We have been modifying the budget to align with the award that we received for the federal fiscal year of 2024, and just doing the regular business of grant management for that particular award. For 2025 funding, we're still waiting to hear from our federal partners at OJJDP. So we do not know yet when that solicitation comes out, but when it does, this committee will be involved in approving the funding for the next cycle of grantees. So we will share that out when we receive that information. Okay, and another update, part of the Title II program that's not specific to the grantees, but is part of the funding that we received is the compliance monitoring team. We have a statewide compliance monitoring team. They do go out and inspect 900 facilities throughout the state. And in this past year, they've completed the 3-year inspection cycle that was carried over from BSCC. So they've completed that 3rd year. And they have started the new fiscal year of inspections, which began on October 1st. So just wanted to report that out. They're doing an amazing job in that group. I will be sharing some other updates later on when we get to the subcommittee section, and just kind of highlight and all the wonderful work we're doing within the subcommittees in particular. But one other just minor update, I do want to remind, this is more than an administrative update, for all members to please submit your travel expense claims, and we will get those processed as soon as possible. So just want to remind everyone here to please, all of the members, to please submit those. Now, we'll move on to the chair and vice chair selection. So I'd like to discuss the chair positions. We have Chair Mendoza and Vice Chair Franco. We all voted them in as chairs at the first meeting, but we did not specify a term for their tenure. So, and this was also prior to the bylaws being adopted. So at this time, we would like to propose Chair Mendoza and Vice Chair Franco to remain in their positions for another year. And per our bylaws, we do need to specify the length of that term. So is there a motion for Chair Mendoza and Vice Chair Franco to remain in their roles through 2026?
Supervisor.
Great. Okay, so it looks like Carly is the first to pass the motion. Who was the second?
Baca Jr.
Carol.
Oh, either way.
Okay, so
Carol
everyone,
Biondi.
all right. We can open the floor for member questions, or are there any questions or discussions about that? Because if not, I'll just go through the roll and we'll make it official. Okay, so to make it official, Supervisor Baca.
Supervisor Baca, aye.
Okay, Honorable Brian Back.
Aye.
Isaiah Barber. Carol Biondi.
Aye.
Dr. BJ Davis.
Aye.
Dr. Carly Darkerstein. Okay, Michael Duncan.
Aye.
Christian Franco. Oh, of course, he can't vote for himself. Michelle Guyman. Susan Sands, it's not here, correct? Monte McKay.
Wait, I'm sorry. Was there a specific word I was supposed to say? I'm sorry.
Aye or nay?
Aye.
All right, Dr. Porter, is he online? Okay, Tyreek Ship. And Dr. Mimi Silver is not in attendance. Dante Williams. Okay, well, the motion has been passed. Chair Mendoza and Vice Chair Franco will remain in their positions through the end of 2026. I will pass the meeting back to Chair Mendoza.
Thank you, Crystal, and thank you to the members. And I'm excited to be a part of this another year. I feel like this year was just an orientation, probation year, right? But okay, now let's do our next order of business to discuss our 2026 meeting dates. Our proposed meeting dates for 2026 are as follow. March 18, 2026 is the first meeting. June 17, 2026 is our second meeting. The September 16, 2026 is our third meeting, and our last meeting is December 16, 2026. That is our proposed meeting dates for 2026. So please, once we approve this, mark your calendars. But I will now open the floor for member discussion and questions about these dates. If those dates don't work for a lot of you, let us know now. But I want to open it now for discussion about these proposed dates. It should be on your agenda, so you could look at them. But yeah, I'll open it to the members for any discussion on this. Any concerns? Anything they want to flag? Anything? It's the right moment to do so now.
Nope, Supervisor Baca moves the calendar.
Oh, okay. I guess there's
Thank
no
you.
discussions. Let me pass it to Vice Chair Franco so he could move along with this vote on this. Let's go.
Thank you, committee members. Again, we will conduct a roll call of member names to vote on the proposed 2026 meeting dates. Respond by saying A or nay or abstain. Supervisor Joe Baca Jr.,
Supervisor Baca, aye.
Honorable Byron Beck,
Aye.
Isaiah Barber. Aye. Carol Biondi,
Aye.
Dr. BJ Davis,
Aye.
Dr. Carly Dirkheisen. Michael Duncan,
Aye.
Christian Franco, aye. Michelle Guyman.
Aye.
Susan Sands. Monte McKay,
Aye.
thank you. Kim Mendoza, Chair.
Aye.
Dr. Porter, Senior. Aye. Thank you, Dr. Porter. He just got here. We'll make sure that we, for the record, this will vote the dates for next year's 2026 meetings, if they all work for you. Thank you. Chip.
Aye.
And that concludes our voting. Dr. Mimi Silber and Dante Williams are not with us. That concludes our meeting dates for 2026. We approve the dates, and I pass the meeting back to Chair Mendoza. Thank you.
Yeah, so now you can mark your calendars. Make sure you make them. It's always encouraged to be in person, all the members. So please mark your calendars now that it's been approved. Yeah, and the reimbursements, all that, please, all of that ahead of time. But now we're gonna turn into our next agenda item, which is a exciting part of the agenda. As you all remember, in our last meetings, in our last SACJJDP meeting and before that, I had talked about, wanting to bring leaders from LA County to join us and share some of the work that they are doing in LA County and how, so we could learn, about that amazing work, and maybe it inspires us as members that work in different parts of the state or just people that are tuning in. So we are going to be hearing from the amazing Wendy Lee Julian she's the Executive Director of Los Angeles County Probation Oversight Commission, followed by another presentation by another amazing individual, David Carroll, Director of Los Angeles County Department of Youth Development. So these are two people that are going to present to us. But before we jump into this, we're going to first, I want to introduce Wendy Julian, who's going to be our first presenter. I will say that I would love for all of us to basically hold the questions to the end of the presentation, please. I will not want to interrupt them as they're presenting. So if you have any questions, either write them down, hold them, but let's wait until after the presentation. And then we'll do the same with David. But for now, I'm gonna pass this time to Ms. Wendy Lee Julian to kick us off with presentation. Pass it to you.
Thank you, Chairman Mendoza. I am Wendy Julian. I use she, her pronouns. I have the great pleasure to serve as the Executive Director of the Probation Oversight Commission. I'm about to celebrate my 5-year anniversary in that role on February 1st, and the 5 years of the Probation Oversight Commission, although it was many years in the making, led by the Probation Reform Implementation Team, which I'll talk about in a second. that Kent Mendoza was a part of. And also, I'm very pleased to have my very own Commissioner Henry Chip here today. So lots of love in the audience from Los Angeles. I'm going to tell you two quick things about me, which I hope will share my perspective on this. One is that I wrote my master's thesis in 1999. Don't do the math. It was called Perfunctory Citizen Participation. And it's really interesting to be doing the job right now that I'm doing, which is to have citizen participation, citizen oversight that is not perfunctory, that is real, that is genuine, that is powerful, that's able to make change. I'm so grateful for that. The second thing is that I'm a community organizer. And when I applied for this job with the Board of Supervisors, I told them, I'm not a neutral, I'm not coming in here to be a neutral. I believe strongly that people who are closest to the issues have the answers, and that we should listen to them and we should allow them to make the decisions. I believe that the response to crime, which is harm, should be healing. I'm a restorative justice practitioner. I really believe that young people almost always are better served in their homes and in their communities, and working hard with the commission to start that. So that's me. The Probation Oversight Commission, and I'm sorry for the acronym, it's called the POC. Everybody calls it that. It's a dumb acronym, but I'm going to say it. I know I'm going to say it. This is a community oversight approach. Like I said, founded 5 years ago. And we'll talk about the powers and authorities, our model of change, the inspections that we have, and the major accomplishments. So why does probation need oversight? And there's not a laughing emoji after that bullet point. I'm sure you all have heard about Los Angeles County Probation. It is a giant department, over $1 billion budget, over 4,000 employees, and it is a life and death department, to be totally frank. It's a department that has faced significant challenges with lawsuits, with findings about suitability. Probation needs oversight because all government needs oversight, but in particular, Los Angeles probation needs oversight. I don't want you to feel sorry for me doing oversight of probation in Los Angeles. I love Los Angeles, and just like my approach with young people, I think about the strength-based, and what's so exciting about Los Angeles is the strength that we have in the people that live there. There is a lot of strength, and the community has made significant changes. When I started this work doing restorative justice and other gang intervention and work like that in the early 2000s, there were over 3,000 youth detained in our detention facilities. Michelle Diamond, who is a longtime public servant in the probation department, knows that it was a different world. We now hover under 600, around 500 young people that are detained. That's a giant accomplishment. And that came because of pressure from the community and changes that happened internally and externally through the department. So we didn't have to do a strategic planning process when we started because Kent did it for us. There were 93 reform priorities set forth by the probation, the Probation Reform Implementation Team. And all my team and the commissioners did was organize them. We put them into buckets. We have tracked their progress. Some of them have been accomplished. Central Juvenile Hall is closed. That is a huge accomplishment. And there have been some that we're continuing to work on, and some we're not even started on yet. So you see links in this presentation. I encourage you to check them out if you're interested in more about how this happened. There's an ordinance that provides the authorities that we will talk about, and we have a team of 9 commissioners and 9 staff members. Please follow us on social media and join our meetings. They're very fun. And I learn something new every meeting, and especially I get to learn from the commissioners and their interaction with the department. So we'll talk about the powers and authorities. And let me just say, if this starts to sound familiar, I want to answer one question that those of you not from Los Angeles may have. And that is, how does the Probation Oversight Commission differ from our Juvenile Justice Commission? The answer is that every county in California has a Juvenile Justice Commission except one, Los Angeles. There's a carve out in the Welfare and Institutions Code that in Los Angeles, the Juvenile Justice Commission is the Probation Commission, which is the Probation Oversight Commission for the last 5 years. So it is a different structure. In all the other counties, the JJC is nominated, the members are nominated by the court. In Los Angeles, they are appointed by the Board of Supervisors. but many of the duties and authorities look similar. There are a couple of big differences. Number one, subpoena power and the ability to compel witnesses. Number two, the ordinance, which you have a link to here. Number three, like I said, the board of supervisors appointments. We have a staff. Many of the JJCs around the state don't have paid staff. It's a lot of volunteer work. And we have oversight over adult probation. That is perhaps the biggest difference between the Probation Oversight Commission and the JJC. So what can we do? We review departmental policies, procedures, practices. We can inspect facilities. I'll talk a lot more about that. We can investigate critical matters brought to the attention. There's a big asterisk on that though. We do not receive confidential information. So we're not doing any kind of investigation that requires looking at personnel files or looking into juvenile case files. By investigate, I mean I call people and try to figure out what's going on. We work very closely with our Office of Inspector General that has significantly more flexibility to actually do inquiries into things that are brought to us. But I'll give you an example of that, how that happens. My commissioners have built, and my staff have built this people-centered approach where folks see us as approachable. And by folks, I mean moms. And I'll get calls from moms. Like this happened to my kid who's in a facility. And my commissioners and my staff have the relationships and the ability to reach out, if necessary, to the Inspector General's office, but usually to probation, and get the matter dealt with in a way that is in the best interest of the young person and the department. So the investigation is actually a much more community approach, not an actual investigation in the way an Inspector General might do it. We can receive and review complaints and grievances, but we can't investigate them. We send that through the Inspector General or directly to probation. We can compel data, get evidence, direct testimony, subpoena necessary information from the probation department. We have had to vote to subpoena information on 3 occasions in 5 years, and it didn't go to a subpoena. The department decided to comply in a very timely fashion. So this has worked very well, sort of like the threat of subpoena, I guess I would say, to encourage constant and regular sharing of data from the department to the Probation Oversight Commission. And then my favorite power and authority is engaging the public through robust and transparent reporting and meetings. It's leadership by people with lived experience. You know, I've thought a lot about that term. What's lived experience mean? We all have lived experience. We're all living. I like to say it much more directly. It's about people who have been on probation and people who have been incarcerated and people who have family members who have been impacted by probation, and listening to what that experience actually looks like. What I wasn't expecting and what has been a really interesting development is the probation oversight has become a place for staff of the probation department to share their concerns and their hopes and their dreams for the department. That was not written into our original thought process. I don't even know whether Ken thought that was something that was going to happen during the PRIT process, but it has. We take our core values very seriously. If you look at them, they are things you might be able to expect, things like social justice and compassion. But most importantly, it is about constant seeking of knowledge and learning more and being humble in our approach and having a fact-based, person-centered approach. So we are very careful about what we do and what we share and the information that we share with the public and making sure that it is person-centered. We have key performance indicators about our community engagement numbers. We have had as many as 1,500 people join our meetings in person and virtually, which is very exciting. You can see our 3-year report actually on our website. Now you can see our annual report, which will show you what we've done. So what have we learned? We have learned that civilian oversight, as it has worked in the law enforcement side and the jail and prison oversight side, is a very effective way to move a department forward. I am really excited about some of the accomplishments, and the way we've done that is through a model of change that was developed by the staff and commissioners early on. So what they do is they uncover issues that mostly comes from the community, although sometimes it comes from staff. We receive and analyze that data, ask the tough questions, produce reports and recommendations. Then the decision makers, which is usually the board of supervisors or sometimes the chief of probation or sometimes the presiding judge of the court, will act on the recommendations, and then we enforce and uplift successes. So very quickly, we learned that staff members and other people inside the facilities were not all carrying Narcan and not trained on using Narcan. Narcan is the way that you undo opioid overdoses. It's a life or death issue. It is a simple fix. And so we asked a bunch of questions. We did some inspections. We asked people, why don't you have it on your belt? Have you been trained to use this? Where's the Narcan? We had multiple meetings about this. We wrote a report, and then the board took action and implemented this. Recently, we've been able to continue to do the checks where we ask about it and found a tremendous culture change among the department. Where I think people, and I can totally understand this, we're afraid about using Narcan, like that's something a nurse should do. And now there is a change and an understanding about their own protection from liability and the safety that they can provide. And so, you know, many of you know, unfortunately, we lost a young man in our facility to an opioid overdose. And I feel like there is a strong truth behind the fact that there have potentially been lives saved since then because of the work of the commissioners to make sure that everybody has Narcan. So that's our model of change. So we do inspections like the Juvenile Justice Commissions. Our 2025 annual inspections are all complete. We'll actually have the full report uploaded to our website and sent to the SEC this week. But they are all available if you want to look at them. The inspections are the core of our work in going in and talking to young people and staff about their experiences. And we have done a lot of thought process and work about how to make these inspections effective. I will say one of the things that I'm very proud of is that my team member, Dr. Sarah Bowler, and I both happen to have a child welfare background. That's just coincidental, actually. But we have, well, maybe it's not coincidental. Maybe it's because there's some thought process behind the similarities between the young people who are involved in both systems. But what it has caused is a real process around thinking about how our commissioners should be trained in PREA and how they should learn how to recognize concerns when they see inspections and our immediate reporting of those concerns to the facility staff and how well that's been working. It's something that I hope other inspectors or agencies that are interested in doing this around the state will take into consideration, and I am more than happy to talk about what that has looked like. So our major accomplishments I already talked about Narcan. We also, I think it could be said, through our work and the model of change, ended what was called the citation diversion program. We learned through research that there were about 20,000 outstanding tickets and other citations that had been placing driver's license hold on young people. These are not young people that are detained. These are kids who picked up a ticket when they were 15 and forgot about it. And when they were 20 and going to get their driver's license for a job, had a hold and warrants because of citation diversion. We did the whole model of change, and the presiding judge wrote a note and ended the program, and was able to waive a number of those to clear up the records of young people and get them moving. We just had a huge success on post-secondary education in our secure youth treatment facility and for the juvenile hall population that's college age. Where the Board of Supervisors took basically word for word the recommendations of the Probation Oversight Commission's pushing to make sure that there are enhanced post-secondary college and vocational services. We did something similar with visitation that worked even better. It didn't result in a board motion. It resulted in leadership of the probation department coming to our meeting and saying, these are great recommendations and we should implement them. It was a very exciting process. And then I think most importantly in transparency. I will say you know, there's a lot of times interest by the media in what's happening, and I heard from a reporter once at one of our meetings, her gratefulness around how this was the one place where we can get data, you download it from our website, it's attached to our agenda, the department has to come and answer questions, and that makes me very proud. So with that, I will wrap it up. I have cards in the room. I have told the OICR staff I'd love to give out my email and phone number if anybody wants to ask for it in the chat. If you're interested in replicating this in other places, I'd love to help with that. I'm so proud of the work we're doing. And you're also welcome to come and join us virtually or in person for our meetings. And you can see Commissioner Shipp and how informed and thoughtful his questions are. So thank you very much. I'll turn it over to my colleague, David Farrell.
Yeah, I think we're gonna probably ask for questions
You
now,
do
right?
questions first?
Yeah, I wanna, before we jump into whatever, I just wanna open it for discussions. Anybody had questions, or Tariq, I know you're here. Is there anything you wanna add to the presentation you just heard? And yeah, you wanna kick it off? And thank you, by the way, Wendy, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, I got a couple hard questions. The first one is, and you don't have to answer this now, but who's your favorite commissioner? No, I'm joking. But on a serious note, just to add everything, like being on the commission, and one thing Wendy has been modest about is that also it's a big relationship builder for these young people. They're in these facilities and they don't meet people who are there to represent them, and they feel like we are. And so that piece of it allows for a lot more open discussion than you may get from them between their lawyer and them, or between their parents or them. They may be afraid to get in trouble with their parents, or a snitching culture. So bridging that relationship is one of the key things that PLC has really been able to do, especially because it's a lot of people who have been in these facilities or on probation at some point, or served as a probation officer, and who are now representing these young people. So I'm just grateful that you came and presented. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will say, the board and the probation, the PRIT, when they created the POC, required that there be people with lived experience on the board, including both people who are formerly incarcerated or people with family members who are formerly incarcerated. And that kind of looked like a check the box thing when you read the ordinance, and that is not how it is evolved at all. We have always had more people on the commission than is required by the ordinance with lived experience. And the chair of the commission, 3 out of 5 times, if you include the one who's now running unopposed, are people who have lived experience with incarceration and probation. And so, for me, that has been the highlight, is watching leadership by people who are formerly incarcerated and have experience, not because it's a good look, but because it actually results in better outcomes in terms of collaboration.
I'll pass it to Carol. I see your hand up. Oh, Carol, I see your hand up. You can ask your question.
I just have thanks to give to Wendy. I've worked with her for many years, and her work is extraordinary. I just wish there was more action on it. What you've prepared for our board is so excellent, and we need to press for more response to your work and your recommendations. And thank you.
Thank you, Carol, and right back at you. And I will say the staff and the commission agrees with you, and we've made a change this year to address that, which is, I think you can see it in the reports, that our reports have, they now look more like direct recommendations for action. There have always been action-related recommendations, but I think that we've learned and evolved as a team to be able to tell the board, do this, tell the department, do this, and sort of sit in our power in a way that is more effective. The big example of that is that the commissioners drafted a depopulation plan to address the unsuitability, and nobody told us to do that. The commission just did it. And Judge Espinosa, in the order to show cause hearing, read through each of the examples that were provided by the Probation Oversight Commission as options that the department should consider. So it was, it wasn't enacted in the way we might have liked, but I think the view of the recommendations that are coming out of the commission has changed drastically because of how excellent the commissioners are at collaborative leadership.
I just have a question as well, or actually two. I'll ask them both so you can. What is, and you might have kind of touched on this already, but like, what is your top priority or the main thing that you're focused on right now? You have a lot of accomplishments, and I know you have a lot of ongoing work, but what is the kind of main focus right now? And then also, relatedly, how can we as a SAG support your work?
Thank you. The first question is an easy one. It's reducing the number of young people who are detained in locked facilities. And I will tell you that is something that the commission and staff have worked on. done it through a number of different approaches, including intake reform. I will say, this is harder than it sounds. And it's harder than it sounds because of something that my mentor, former law professor, Jody Armour, who's a law professor at USC, told me when I took this job, and I asked him, what do you think is gonna be the biggest challenge? And I was expecting him to say things like politics or the union or something like that. He didn't say that at all. He said, we live in a society that loves revenge. And I have thought about those words so many times because that is actually the problem, is that we, those of us who believe in redemption and those of us who believe in rehabilitation and believe in healing harms and in restorative justice, need to continue to work to explain to folks that I love public safety. I live in a very safe neighborhood in Long Beach, and I want to be in a safe neighborhood. I don't want people stealing my catalytic converter. I mean, nobody wants that. I certainly don't want people being harmed. I just happen to, through research, believe that the way to prevent that is by actually addressing the needs that people have. And we've got to get away from this revenge-based, punishment-based system and into a system that focuses on healing people. And that requires, I mean, this is why I don't get invited to parties. This is my only topic conversation. I also like the Dodgers, but that also doesn't help anywhere else other than LA. But that kind of narrative shifting is what I think we need help with. And at the state level, you all have a lot of power to do that. And we've got to get politicians to say the right things, and actors to say the right things, and teachers to say the right things, and to actually believe them in terms of how to reduce crime and promote public safety and healing.
Anybody ask more questions? I do have a comment, but
I have one more question.
go ahead, Carol.
And that is, have you been involved in the receivership conversation? And is that going to be something, Kent, that we'll discuss? And actually, what's the next decision moment on that? I don't even know.
So what Carol is talking about is that the Attorney General, I'm going to use all the wrong words here, but filed for a potential receivership, and that there's an ongoing court case with an order to show cause about that. I will say the judge in the case issued a tentative ruling against the receivership, but then said, come in and show me how Los Angeles can be compliant with all of these terms of the original agreement with the Department of Justice. So the Probation Oversight Commission has not, I personally have not been involved, and the commission has not taken any kind of position on what's going on in the receivership. We are following it closely, but those hearings are ongoing. The most recent one was postponed, and I believe they'll reschedule one for January. I mean, I think there's some delicate matters around ongoing litigation that's happening, but it's certainly very public. The hearings are public, and we're watching and keeping a close eye. I'm not expecting there to be any kind of a decision, certainly anytime in the near future, other than the fact that the judge has already issued a tentative ruling, which gives us some sense of what the direction is.
Any other questions from any members or comments? And thank you for that question, Carol. That was a question from Javier. The chat, right?
That was.
Oh, okay. I will just say that one thing that I've learned about this process is that when we were doing the PRIT process, the probation reform implementation team that created this, I remember one of the things the community really wanted to uplift was subpoena power. And I'm glad that it's working, because that was one of the main things that we were pushing for this commission to have subpoena power. And I remember showing up to those PRIT hearings with that sign saying we need subpoena power in this commission. And so it's just hearing that you guys already used it and it actually worked, and it actually made the chief not be like against it, but actually kind of made him more willing. I think that's a good victory for the advocates. But in general, I would say that I think you talked about the best part of this was like the engagement of people, right? And I think that is true, because in the whole PRIT process, what made the PRIT process successful and what made the PLC able to have all of these powers was literally participation from community. people showing up to the meetings very consistently for the 9 period months that they met, sharing our stories. I was one of them kids, and and now that when I go to the POC meetings, some of you have been to those POC meetings, you see that even when staff show up, even when probation people staff and talk, I feel like that's where we as people that run bodies, we should always look into the answers from the public. That's the ammunition that really helps. And I've seen it, witnessed it in the parade, and I witnessed it in the POC when there's things that public says and the POC takes it and makes it an actual thing, follows up on it, so I really do want to highlight that. But other than that, I don't think you missed anything. I think that was a great presentation. And I just want to look at that report. I haven't read the report, but yeah.
Carol's question was about.
Go ahead.
Carol, I think, was your question also about what this group is doing on, what specifically the state advisory group is doing on the receivership?
Well, I was asking, do we have any legal right to advise on this? Because I think it's the Board of Supervisors who are the main, and the probation department are the main, entities that are influencing the judge's decision. And it's a critical one. We have, I don't need to tell anybody in this group the history, but it seems to me we are in a situation where something needs to change. And certainly the POC is doing everything possible to show to make public the information that should be used in this decision. And I don't know why we think anything is going to get better if the board continues to just be okay with the status quo. It's not okay. And it's a question.
Yeah, I personally don't have an answer. I think that's a question for OICR, right? But yeah, I have to step away.
Thank you, Chair Mendoza, and through the chairs. I just wanted to share that currently this body doesn't have any ability to insert itself into an ongoing litigation process. And I will definitely, that's the question that you asked, Member Biondi. However, if this body would like more information on what's going on in terms of the process for the receivership hearing or any updates on the order to show cause that Director Julian mentioned during their presentation, I'm happy to bring that back to this group. Currently with the receivership, what I can share, it's an open court hearing that happens every 2 weeks on Friday at 8 in the morning. And the court has decided to hear testimony on 3 broad topics: staffing, data analysis, and use of force. Currently, from the updates that we have at OICR, the court is still hearing testimony on staffing. So data collection, use, and reporting still is pending testimony from both the Attorney General's office as well as from from the Los Angeles Probation Department and the county. After that, they'll move to data analysis, and then they'll move to use of force. So that court hearing for receivership is not yet done, and it's likely to continue for the next few months. That's all the information I have, if that's helpful.
Well, yes, but our state responsibility has revealed that the programming is completely inadequate. And that is our Title 15 responsibilities. And we've made that clear. So I don't know why that isn't part of what they're going to focus on.
Carol, I wonder, looking for us as this advisory group, looking at the compliance monitoring and seeing if there's any valuable information or anything that we can, offer back to that reporting that may be in alignment with this work. That's something that comes up to me, but again, we can continue to talk about this. We'll have further discussions on it. Thank you so much for your question, Ms.
Well, it
Biondi.
was actually Javier that prompted the thought, so he.
In the
can-
chat, yes, thank you for speaking it. At this moment, we are going to continue with the agenda. If there are no more questions on that matter, and we will pass the floor over to Mr. David Carroll for your presentation. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Carroll. I am the Director of the Department of Youth Development. Certainly want to thank you all for having us here today, specifically to Kent, who one of the people that invited us. Lots of friendly faces in the audience and folks that are online. So I feel very comfortable among this group of people. So glad to be here. A little bit about me. This work is deeply personal, and I'm extremely passionate. I was born into the foster care system. Shortly thereafter, was in single parenthood, where there was a lot of mischief that I took as much advantage of as I possibly could. But every time I fell, there was a caring adult that was there with their arms around me, whether it was a coach or a teacher or a program. There was always something there that was trying to help me to navigate through young adulthood. So certainly I see my face in the faces of the young people that we serve, and I'm very humbled and honored to be in this role. So I came from the nonprofit background, working directly with young people and advocating for programs around the country that supported young people from early childhood all the way through young adulthood. So coming from that background, I'm going to have a test at the end of this presentation. So the test is going to be on the common misconceptions of DYD. So hopefully all of these are answered in my presentation, and you all will ace the test that happens at the end of it. So one of those misconceptions is, does DYD only serve justice-involved youth? Is DYD duplicating the work that others are already doing? Does the DYD approach hold young people less accountable than arrest? And does diversion only work for lower level offenses? I'm going to answer all of them in this presentation, but I will give you the answer to the third one about accountability. It absolutely does not hold young people less accountable. In fact, they're held more accountable, just in a care first, restorative way. Youth development is public safety, right? Youth development is public safety. If you give young people the tools and the resources that they need on the front end, you find yourself not having to do the repair and the restoration on the back end. So I want to say that, so you got the answer to the third question already. So you're already, a good way towards that end. I'm gonna give you just a little bit of background on DYD, and there are people in this room and people online that were part of this process, which is extremely exciting. But historically, LA had been the largest incarcerator of young people, and there had been decades of community organizing and outrage about the number of young people that were in our juvenile facilities and camps. And around 2017, 2018, those conversations became a lot more galvanized, right? And those people started to really coalesce and get some attention from the legislative leaders and the Board of Supervisors. And around that time, the Board of Supervisors at that moment commissioned a study on how we could treat people differently in the juvenile justice system. That started in 2019. I remember being at the very first meeting and I didn't think anything would ever come of it. It was 200 people in a room, everyone from probation folks all the way through abolitionists. And I was like, how is this group ever going to come to any kind of consensus? And then a month or two later, the pandemic kicked in. So those meetings had to go virtual instead of in person. And at the time, I think we were using Skype. I don't even think Zoom was out at the time, right? So, but I was wrong. After a year of intense meeting, Youth Justice Reimagined emerged. And that was a report, again, on how young people could be treated different, the types of supports that they would need. And that report was adopted by the then, at this point, a new version of the Board of Supervisors in 2020. And one of the tenets of YJR was to create a Department of Youth Development, which is how we emerged. So about 2 years later, we were created as a department in July of 2022. So we just finished our third year in existence. I personally have been at the helm since about 6 months after the department was begun as the first director of the department. So our mission, I mean, in a nutshell, is to keep kids out of the system, and for kids who are in the system to reduce the depth of their involvement and the harm that they may experience in the system. I do think it's important to read the mission and vision because we want to make sure that we are grounded in the way we were created and in the tenets of Justice Reimagined. So DYD's mission is to be a catalyst for transformation by providing innovative pathways to youth development through an intersectional, anti-racist, youth-centered strategies so that all young people can access the resources that nurture their growth, well-being, and connection to community. Again, we are centered on youth and focused on community. Again, those closest to the problem have the answers, and we do not want to lose those roots of community involvement. This is the part that sometimes is controversial. We envision a flourishing youth development ecosystem that builds safer communities and eliminates youth incarceration by ensuring that young people have the tools they need to thrive. We do not want to see any young people in a cage behind bars. That doesn't mean we don't want to hold young people accountable for their actions. It means that we believe that if they get the resources on the front end, it's much less likely that they'll end up in a system. And if we create a system that develops them, a care first system, then we'll see different outcomes and less recidivism. So I definitely wanted to highlight the mission and vision. So again, two really complicated slides. I think this one wins first place. I saw a couple of windy slides and I was like, I'm not the only one with these complicated slides. But I think it's important to try to share kind of our through line of development. Just so you'll know, this is one of the questions on the test, right? Does DYD only serve justice involved youth? So we work with young people from development all the way through remedy, right? All the way through young people who find themselves in the system. The county has developed a set of intercepts that actually kind of go interdepartmentally, right? So you see some of these same words about primary, again, that's the development region. Secondary, that's for kids who are more likely to come in contact with law enforcement or more likely to experience some of the challenges that are associated with system involvement. Tertiary is for those young people who are at imminent risk or on their way into the system. And then remedy is for our young people that are systems involved all the way through their re-engagement into the community. So we work with young people from the front end all the way through supporting them when they come home from community. And I'm going to go into the program more specifically, but I want everyone to understand that this train track, right? Everyone is on the youth development track. Even if they find themselves getting in trouble or in situations where they're in negative contact with law enforcement, there is still an opportunity for them to continue to develop and to go back to that track and move on through adulthood. So I wanted to just kind of highlight the continuum. And I've got another complicated slide. Now that was the answer to question number one. So now you should be at a 50% if you've been taking notes, right? So we want to keep track of that. All right, so on that front end, right, we've got what are called youth development networks that are in all 5 supervisorial districts. These are organizations that support young people where they are with programs that they need, everything from mentoring, workforce, financial literacy, art, sports, supporting the organizations that support the young people in those particular communities. We provide resources to those organizations, but I think more importantly, we provide an ecosystem where they come together, they share best practices, they can cross-refer between different organizations so that all the needs of young people in their care can be met, not necessarily by one agency, but by this ecosystem that is created by the youth development networks. We also are in partnership with schools and other systems. This is brand new. This is launching actually at the first of the year, where we're going into the schools, working specifically with schools that have a high percentage of absenteeism. They have school climate challenges, and our partners have identified those schools as some of the places that need additional support. We've been in the schools through a program called Bloom, right, that focused primarily on young people of color. It started with just boys, and then that extended to both boys and girls in the schools. But now we're actually focusing on working in the schools with the goal of bringing down the climate and eliminating the need for justice involvement taking place at the school, right? So we don't want kids, the school to prison pipeline, to be exacerbated by that involvement. So we're excited to be moving into, I think, about 12 schools starting in the first of the year across all supervisorial districts. So for young people that are approaching that that systems involvement, we have youth diversion. That is our oldest program. We are countywide. I think when we started, we were working with about 10 different law enforcement agencies. We are working with over 30 law enforcement agencies now that can directly refer young people if they come into contact with law enforcement at the time of the incident, or all the way through the district attorney being able to refer young people to us with more serious offenses later on in the process. We are really proud of that program. Again, later I will actually share a little bit more, but that program has undergone an external evaluation that shows that only 5% of young people are reoffending after going through the diversion program. So only 5% of young people are reoffending, which we're extremely proud of, as compared to over 20% of young people who don't go through diversion programs. Again, those programs bring together the family, they bring together the person that was harmed, as well as obviously the young person, to truly address the root cause of why they were engaged in the activity that they were engaged in, and what we can do to prevent further engagement. My partner Wendy over here actually knows a lot about diversion because she was one of the first providers of the diversion program here in Los Angeles, and certainly in partnering with DYD. So what the department that really undergirds everything that we do is our innovation and learning department. Doing a great job is one thing, but we've got to do that great job by collecting data, by telling the story with numbers, and with the anecdotal stories, of course, that we are familiar with successes of young people. So the innovation and learning department is responsible for our data, it's responsible for strategic engagement, it's responsible for bringing together providers and county departments, again, to share best practices and to learn and to work together. And then telling the story, right? So much of the narrative about young people is negative. So we are really trying to engage in a communication campaign to counter that narrative, that fear-based narrative, that we need to be afraid of our young people, as opposed to we need to be investing in them to provide the resources that they need to thrive. And then the youth justice supports and services. This was formerly known as our reentry department, but we do a lot more than just reentry. This is the department that works directly in the facilities with the young people through credible messengers, as well as other programs that we're providing for young people. Again, art, financial literacy, workforce development, physical fitness, a variety of programs that young people have asked for. We provide those programs again in the facilities. We provide some transition help, taking kids along with probation from their living units to the school to make sure that they have access to get to school on time and frequently. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing in the facility, again, and preparing those young people to come home, not to keep them there, right, but to make sure that when they leave, they are connected to resources that they need once they return to the community to prevent finding themselves back in the system. So our reentry work is extremely important. All of those organizations have resources to connect young people when they get out, right? So many of the credible messengers, the day that young person is released, they are there for that young person with everything from transportation to helping them get clothing, to helping them get an ID, workforce, lots of different services. We've also engaged with 19 other organizations to provide reentry services through a program called RAY. RAY is probably one of the most exciting and innovative programs within DYD. It was a true partnership between Probation Oversight Commission, the district attorney, the defense bar, the judges, probation, obviously, where we looked at what young people needed to have access to when they return to community, including money, right? So the RAY program provides a financial incentive of about $200 a month, as well as access to money to pay for emergency needs, as well as if they want to pay for a class or if they need uniforms for a workforce program. So each young person has access to about $5,000 that they can draw down if they need it for those types of services. We started the program just 6 months ago. We started with 200 placements. We did not know how many we'd actually use. We are up to 400 young people that are in the program. That is a blessing and a curse because we are now really triaging only the most serious cases. One of the most amazing things that has happened is the judges have invited us to co-locate in the courthouse. So we're in the Inglewood courthouse in California. And there are a number of young people that have been released to Ray instead of going into Los Padrinos, instead of going into a juvenile camp. So what the judges are saying is, we will let you out if you have the appropriate wraparound services to prevent you from reoffending. So we're extremely excited, and we are trying to figure out ways to expand that program. We are shifting some dollars from some other programs to create additional placements starting at the first of the year, because again, we are well over what we thought our original capacity was going to be. And you know, I should also mention, I'm sorry, incarceration. Ultimately, we don't want young people in the facilities in the first place. So while we're doing all this work in the facilities, we're still working outside, advocating for young people, trying to figure out ways that young people can prevent themselves from finding themselves in those facilities in the first place. Ray is one of those, but there's a lot of judicial advocacy. As you know, there are a lot of ways that the charges are written where young people who don't necessarily need to be in the facility are scored in a way that they find themselves behind bars. So we're still advocating to prevent the young people from going into the facilities in the first place. This is probably second place for the most complicated slide of the presentation, but this is just to kind of show where our intercepts are. So certainly we can prevent young people from going into the juvenile hall through Ray. Certainly, as I mentioned before, we are co-located in the courthouse. Once young people find themselves in the facility, they can connect with our programming that is both the Credible Messenger as well as the appropriate youth development programming. On their way out, we are in the process of creating alternative placements for young people. Again, we would rather that the young person goes home, but if they can't go home, we're providing what are called safe healing centers, where young people can go until they're ready to make it home. We're focusing on girls and gender expansive youth for that particular program. Super excited to say we have our first 2 placements in a facility in Los Angeles. These are our home-based, home-like environments, small 4 to 6 young people, unlocked facilities, again, with the wraparound services that young people need. The first provider was Zoe International in Los Angeles, and we just signed an agreement with the New Way of Life, where they are actually, we provided resources for them to renovate a home that will be the first standalone safe healing center. And DYD is looking into buying a property and having a CBO to manage that property as the second safe healing center. We expect both of those to be online in the calendar year 2026. So we're extremely excited. Again, this is an alternative place for young people to go. We'd rather they go home, but if they can't go home, we want to make sure that they are in the safest, most appropriate placement possible. And then I mentioned Ray again as also a support service for young people who are released, who are at home, but they need access to resources. That program is for them. So as I mentioned before, our development, diversion, and reentry programs are evidence-based and based on promising practices. So it's not just someone's idea or whim. There's been a lot of research, a lot of work that has gone into the development of these programs. We have data that shows that youth and families who access our program improve key strengths like emotional regulation, conflict resolution, social support, and school engagement. We regularly analyze and share our data with our program partners, with other county departments, to see what's working, what's not working. We engage with young people and community frequently. I would argue that we're one of the most community involved departments that exist within LA County. We are constantly providing information and receiving feedback from community. And as I mentioned before, 95% of the young people that go through diversion are not reoffending. Wendy, you did a much better job than this of me, but please follow us on social media and our website and our newsletter. We have multiple wonderful events. We have a youth summit that happens every year. It just happened. There were about 700 people there, about 250 young people. Tyreek was there, as well as other folks that are online and that are in the room. We have a lot of other community meetings throughout the course of the year, so we urge you to become active. And I'm done. We went to OCR, but yeah.
Thank you, David. Thank you for that presentation. I would like to now open the floor for questions from members, if there are any. Yes, Dr. Porter.
You want me or?
Oh, we got one right here from in person. Just a second, Carol. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation, David. It's very good to hear about this type of work you're doing in LA County. I'm a pastor here in Sacramento and have lots of friends, of course, across the state in the faith-based organizations. I'm wondering, do you have partnerships with any faith-based organizations in regards to your community outreach?
We absolutely do. I would say that the relationships that we have don't necessarily allow them to, share their faith, right? But they are based in faith. So a lot of the organizations that we support were either started, as faith-based organizations or have that component in their programming. So one of the organizations is online now, Healing Dialogue and Action, and Javier Starring, who leads that organization. But we have about 100 different organizations that we partner with. We also try to focus on organizations that are smaller and don't necessarily always get the attention of the major funders, right? So we want to make sure, again, that some of those organizations that do great work have opportunities to provide services to young people. So the answer would be yes, and a lot of our community outreach work takes place in those faith-based organizations. So a lot of the convenings happen in different churches or different communities around the country.
Great. I would love to know who you're actually partnering with, and all that. What are other opportunities there? Because there are many churches in those areas are trusted voices, of that. Of course, that. I'd be more interested to get more information about that.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to follow up, as well as on our website. We've got a list of all of our providers by category. So whether it be diversion, youth development networks, credible messengers. But I'm happy to talk directly also.
Thank you.
And I did fail to mention, one of the things that Wendy said it too. We would love for the DYD concept to be replicated across the state. So nothing that we do is proprietary. Nothing is secret. Youth Justice Reimagined is readily available on our website. Certainly take parts of it, take the whole, whatever works for your particular geography. See, I talk too much.
Ran out the battery.
Ran out the battery.
We have another question. We have a couple hands up. Carol, I heard you first, and then we'll go to.
Yeah, I have two questions for you, Mr. Carroll. One is the wonderful goals we've been working for a long time, but in the past, the county has not collected data that will show whether they're working or not. And I see you reported it, but I would love for you to share the data with us. The last diversion program data I saw, which was more than a year ago, didn't show anywhere near 95% success. That's incredible. I would love to see that. And any of the other programs, the credible messengers, I've actually visited myself. I've been advocating for that for years. So I would love it if you could share your research with us. I think many of us are probably very interested in that, just for information for the rest of the state, if nothing else. And then on Ray, we know that that LA receives close to $200 million a year from the state in multiple different sources. Are you using any of those state funds? JJCPA, Youth Offender Block Grant, Realignment, the former funds that the camps used, TANF money. It's a lot. Are you using any of the state resources to support any of your program, in particular Ray, which was something I had not heard about? And I think it's incredibly important and could be a very, very valuable innovation in LA. So are you accessing the state funds for those programs?
Sure, I'll answer second question first. We are accessing JJCPA funds primarily for our diversion program on the prevention side. We are accessing JJRBG funds for some of the in-facility programming, specifically the credible messenger.
How much? How much?
You know what, off the top of my head, I do not know, but maybe one of my colleagues online in the chat, and they can provide that information. I don't actually know exactly
Okay.
off the top of my head, but it is the JJRBG funds the majority of the in-facility programming that we have right now, which is Credible Messenger, and then some of those wraparound programs, financial literacy, physical fitness, art. There are a few programs. We are looking to expand that exponentially. So we're in conversations with both probation and other stakeholders about how to really take the lead in programming in the facilities. In March of 2023, the board passed a motion giving DYD the charge, right, of taking the lead in programming. We have begun that process, but we haven't fully lived, into taking the lead. So we are in the process of those conversations.
Because we also know there is a staggering amount of unused past funds in these. And the last JJCPA spending report I saw, I don't believe Ray was one of them. So it's time to really access those resources for our youth in LA. Thank you.
And the next JJRPG request is due January the 9th. So we will be requesting additional funds, not to get ourselves in trouble by saying too much, but we are certainly applying for additional funds with Ray certainly in mind as one of the additional programs.
Well,
I think
if you need any help from us, please ask.
I appreciate that. I certainly appreciate it. Now, the first question, I've lost it now. What was the first question?
How do you know that what you're doing is working? And can you share that information with us?
Absolutely. So on the website, but I also can follow up if someone just will remind me to send, we have the full-blown outside evaluation on diversion that's available. I think a short version is available on our website, but I'm happy to send both the shorter version as well as the
Thank you.
full evaluation. That was an external evaluation. We are refreshing that evaluation right now, since we've had more time. The other programs are just too new at this point to have a very strong evaluation, although we've got limited information and anecdotal information about how they perform. Many of the programs that we've had only started a year or maybe two ago at the longest. Diversion, we had the benefit that it started before DYD was even a department when we were housed under public health as YD. So the evaluation, I'll make sure to get it to this group if someone can just remind me to do that, as well as the list of programs.
Faith-based.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. David, we got two more questions. If you do have a question and you're holding on, wait, please put it in the chat. We're going to go to the Honorable Brian Beck.
Well, good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for your presentation. There's some really good stuff in there. Carol's already commented on that 95% figure that flashed across the screen. Whoa, the heck is that? I had a question about, you talked about the arrangement with the Inglewood Court. I'm a judge out of Ventura County, so this is a particular interest to me. How many judges in the court are actually working on that program that you described?
There are at least 3 in the Inglewood Court, although there are judges in the other courthouses that were not co-located, but they are still referring young people to our various programs, right, specifically to Ray. Right now, what we're looking for are resources to be able to co-locate additional staff in those other courthouses, but many of the juvenile judges are working with us even though we're not located. It just makes it so much easier being co-located in the courthouse. So that right now that's just a capacity issue to be able to add more. We are in, there's a study currently taking place in Los Angeles, commissioned by the bench. It's a juvenile justice self-assessment that's being done by a national organization. All of the juvenile justice judges are in that convening. So we have conversations, open dialogue like this about the various programs we have, as well as several other stakeholder partners sharing what's available, resources, et cetera. So they're all aware of us. I was just in a meeting with the juvenile justice bench partners on Monday, where we gave an update again on our numbers because we're running out of placements, but certainly would love to continue that and strengthen it. We're just looking again for more resources to be able to expand.
I mean, I presume the judges, they're seeing kids both in and out of custody when they first come into the court?
Yes,
Primarily in custody or?
I say primarily out of custody. The vast majority of young people that come through the system don't go into a camp or a hall. I would say the vast majority.
And how often do you see a meeting coming up with the judges next week? I think you said. How often do you actually meet with them?
Well, the staff is meeting with the co-located staff is meeting with them daily, right? They're having conversations with the judges, the DA, and the defense attorneys on a daily basis. The other meeting is monthly, although there are supplemental meetings, in between where we're really trying to strengthen those relationships. Again, to give young people the opportunity to be at home, as opposed to being in the juvenile hall.
Great. That's great. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got a couple more questions. We're gonna go to Dr. Durkheisen really quick and then to Michelle Guyman.
Thanks. I have a lot of questions. I'll try to streamline them. I'm really curious about the RAY program. First of all, is that an acronym? Did you already tell us?
Yeah, reentry action for youth.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. Look,
That's okay.
my apologies. That's an LA County thing.
So can you just tell a little bit more about the specifics about how youth actually get referred? If it's just like kind of random from the judge, if there's some type of like qualification, and then a little bit more about like what the actual program entails, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, not a problem at all. And I was gonna start with this. I could do a full hour on every one of our programs,
I'm
right?
sure.
And still not probably answer every question. And I'm happy to, provide supplemental information or have, additional meetings. So I want to put that out there.
Great.
The RAY program was originally designed for young people returning home from either a camp or SYTF, right?
Okay.
When we said that, young people came to us and said, what about the 2,000 young people that are awaiting the disposition of their case and have access to nothing, right? Because they're not under the care of probation at that point because they haven't, gone through the disposition. And it was a light bulb that went off. And I remember Wendy being in those conversations as well as other folks. So the program is designed again to support young people with the services that they need. So what they get, the 19 providers are geographical, right? Placed in different places around LA. Each provider has a case management load of 10 young people. So the providers each have case managers that are working directly with that young person to provide both the services that that organization provides as well as other partners, right? So if they need substance abuse treatment and that organization doesn't offer it, they have the ability to cross-refer. We are getting the young people from a variety of sources. Number one, originally, the Credible Messengers and the other in-facilities programs would start to develop a relationship and say, hey, when you go home, you're going to need access to a variety of services. Please access the RAY program, Reentry Actions for Youth. That was kind of where we thought we would start. That evolved into working primarily with the defense bar and providing, because we don't have, per WIC code, we don't have access to those young people necessarily unless they voluntarily, approach us. So the defense attorneys were speaking with their clients, identifying their needs, and then referring directly to RAY. That has now evolved even further, where the bench is, looking at young people in their specific situations, right, and looking to see if RAY might be an alternative for them to avoid detention. There is a tiering program that we've got where we're, again, with limited capacity, where the most high needs are going to be those young people who without RAY would be incarcerated. Because of our incarceration of girls work that we're doing in partnership with OICR and others, girls and gender expansive youth are, in that higher range. And then the tiering kind of goes down from there. That's something that we can provide, at a later date. But certainly we've had to tier it based on the needs. So the most recently released people are at a higher tier than young folks that maybe have been home for 6 months or longer. Hopefully
So is there like a reason that a youth would maybe not like qualify beyond just capacity?
Beyond capacity is the issue right now.
Yeah, sorry,
Take
capacity
that out of
issue.
it. And this is what folks are saying is that every young person that comes through could benefit, from the wraparound services. And the services themselves are not dramatically different than the diversion, restoration kind of programs, other than the financial incentive that Ray has and diversion doesn't have, as well as some of the more intense services, because those young people typically have more deeper challenges that they're trying to overcome. So I think what would disqualify a young person would be, first of all, they didn't participate.
Yeah.
Right? But then if they had been, released for a longer period of time, they were, thriving on their own, and didn't seem to need the services
Okay.
as much as
So like less
some.
vulnerable.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And then can I also just follow up and ask a little bit about the safe healing centers? So it's nice to hear about those because I read about them obviously in the YJR work. Can you just talk a little bit about, as someone who's really only read the report, and I've spoken with Patricia Song about some of the challenges in trying to get those placements kind of going. So it's nice to hear that it's happening. Can you talk a little bit about like how those are specifically different from like a suitable placement or another type of placement that's already available to you?
Right. Well, one, there aren't really enough placements available, especially for girls and gender expressive youth, right? So that that's one thing. But the size, I think, is a big component. These are very, very small, 4 to 6 young people. We probably vetted 60 or more providers, and most said there's no way that they could do anything that small, right? It wasn't scalable, based on their reimbursement structure, et cetera. They just couldn't do it. So I think the size is a major component. The other part is the availability, the requirement that they have wraparound services on site, right? So young people can get most of what they need while they're, in that particular placement. So the size, the home life, environment. We went through a design company. Some of the artist renderings are available on the website. You may have seen it. Patricia runs, that particular, all that work in the juvenile, the YJSS, Youth Justice Support and Services. But you can see how it's laid out, like a requirement for green space and, spaces to reflect and, just different things that create kind of a therapeutic environment for the young people, as well as that home life setting.
Cool. Thank you. One theme I would just say that I keep hearing you say is like going back to this idea of just like the one-stop shop. And I feel like when you hear folks that do that where, we're providing services, we're in the court, they can get services, or all of the services are in the placement. Like it just seems like that is something that's much more effective, and just especially in LA, right? When it's just so hard to get to all the services. So thank you very much. I'll pass it over to Michelle.
Yeah, and I'll keep this quick. A couple of things. Do you do a lot of work with parents? I know we talk a lot about giving, providing a lot of work to the young people, which is great. But I've also seen that sometimes the reason the kids don't go home is because the parents are just overwhelmed. And so is there a lot of work happening with parents while kids might be in custody to get them ready and prepared and ready to go when their young person is released?
Yeah, so certainly in diversion, right, the family is part of that circle, care around the young person. The credible messenger organizations, they work quite a bit with the young people's family as they prepare to go home, or if they're already at home in the reentry space. We're also piloting some work with DCFS, where we are working with young people who have had calls, right, but not entered into the child welfare system yet. So trying to divert them, quite frankly, from having that system's involvement, separate from the juvenile justice system. So we certainly recognize the need for the family to be whole. I almost would lean towards Tariq to see have you been working as a credible messenger? Have you kind of anecdotally seen some of those family dynamics and some of those connections? See, I'm taking advantage of people that I know that this simply works. Oh, and Javier's on the call too.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Javier can say something quick while I read.
Yeah. Healing Dialogue in Action does have a program that services families of the SYTF youth who are detained. But, those are the families that more than likely their children are okay to go back to their homes. The ones that we need to reach are the families that don't want to participate in the system, might be gang involved. And it's recognizing that people that come into the criminal justice system come with generational trauma. So we're trying to work with young people who it takes more than just addressing the needs of that young person. And while I'm on here, I just wanted to throw out there because I'm amazed at where we're at, right, Carol? And the fact that Magic's here and Kent's here, and that that we're all working on this together. And I'm on the Restorative Justice Subcommittee. And one thing that we want to bring is, let's help everybody who comes into the juvenile justice system, right? And that includes the reality that we've left behind victims and survivors. We should all be working to better the entire system, because these families, whether they're the person who committed the harm or the family that was harmed, those labels are interchangeable. They come from the same community, same family. So we should have a system that comes together working from that reality. How do we improve the lives of everybody that's coming in through the system? And with all of the advances that we've made for the people who cause harm, to help them, and we need to continue to improve on that. Let's make sure that there's parity, that the same services and resources and support that the people that are coming into the justice system, that we prioritize, that the families of the victims also have those opportunities.
Yeah,
So I hope that
yeah, I mean, we certainly know a whole lot more than we did 20 years ago, and you and I have been doing this for longer than that. But I
look
don't
amazing,
think,
Carol.
what?
You look amazing.
Yeah, but I agree with you. We are not anywhere near where we could be, knowing what we do. And with the resources we have, we've gotten a report that shows that in the state it's almost $1 billion. Now, where is it? It's not where our knowledge is. And it's been frustrating to me since JJCPA started. And we're still not using it in the critical areas. And I'm happy to see that there's more research being done than there was. But how do we get where we need to be with all the people involved now? I mean, you remember when there are 5 of us that could meet in the commission office, and that was it in 99 and 98. But the individuals and the lived experience, we've expanded our JJCPA committee, and we still aren't where we need to be. And it's very frustrating for an old person like me who spent so much time on it. But I'm so happy to see your face, Javier. I haven't seen you in so long.
Likewise, girl, you're amazing. You are amazing.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Do you have any comments, Tyreek?
I mean, I'll probably just echo what Javier said, even on family dynamics, like, young people are, I mean, you really just gotta listen to them, right? Like, they tell you everything that they need or what's going on, and sometimes, it's a coach or somebody that they talk about heavily who influenced their life or who changed them, or sometimes it is a family member, it's a mom. For me, it was my mom. So I think, just listen, you gotta listen heavy, and to those family dynamics, it gets super complicated, like trying to work with it. Sometimes you gotta, some family members are lost, they don't have contact with these young people, and then people don't even give visitations sometimes, or order for visitation, and so it gets super complicated. And the work that David is doing on this is incredible, just trying to bridge that gap a little bit.
Thank you, Tyreek. And I, for me, one thing that comes up, I wonder if there's data that helps us in this area as far as like, fathers who are incarcerated from the Sacramento County in prison. And then that gives us kind of the measure, right, to say in Sacramento County, there's 250 youth who have a parent who is incarcerated, and be able to leverage that, that work, if you would. But anyhow, we are going to go to break. Dr. Davis, you have a quick question?
Well, I don't know how quick it is, but
take your time.
But I'll make it quick. So Carly actually asked a lot of the questions I would. First, I just want to say I think your presentation was great, and I love what you're doing. I would like to know how you even convinced I don't need you to answer this, I'm being but how you got the system to open the door for you to be able to provide these services. I've been on these committees, and people who know who've been on committees with me is my frustration is that I sit on a lot of committees and nothing happens. We talk really good and we have great ideas and people seem passionate, but the system stays the same. And I'm always wanting what our conversations to translate out into action, kind of like what Carol was talking about, was making sure that things change. And it looks like you are actually doing something. I'm just having to ask because I have a lot of questions, and I'm actually on Dr. Porter, co-chair of a subcommittee on legislation as it relates to this. And we've been having a lot of conversations about diversion and delayed adjudication. And so would you be willing to kind of attend one of our subcommittees? You can do it remotely and share more, because we talk, there's a lot of should be legislations about diversion. There's programs where we're trying to figure out what they did, what their outcomes were. It's kind of vague, and so I just want to hear more about what you did, how you did it, and maybe see if we can duplicate that here in Sacramento County, because that's where I'm at. So that's my quick question.
So the answer is absolutely yes. I would love to participate in one of your meetings. So please feel free to capture my information, either through this body or any one of the individual members. Lots of folks at dcarroll@dyd.lacounty.gov. I mean, I'm absolutely interested in that. I gotta be, frank and say, I didn't have anything to do with breaking down those barriers. That was all that community work that took place by both young people as well as adult stakeholders over years, but specifically from around 2018, 2019 till now. I've got to also say that the steps forward that we've taken are under threat. I do not think that YJR nor DYD would have been created in the current environment. With the shift in the perception of law enforcement moving from a more social justice approach around the time of George Floyd. If you remember in 2020, when YJR was adopted, that was during the summer, during the George Floyd aftermath, right, of the protest. I don't know if the appetite would be the same right now, and that really worries me. We definitely saw a decline in diversion referrals and an uptick in youth arrests post the election in November. I am pleased to say, we were looking at it monthly, that has shifted, right? And we are back to the pre-election numbers. And that was due to a lot of hard work with our law enforcement partners, really ensuring to them that the young people will be held accountable, right? And that it does work even for the more serious 707B offenses even, right? So that is certainly something to be concerned about. And then just lastly, and I know we're over, but Javier, I've got to tell you that working with the victims or the people that were harmed is at the top of my list. I don't know if you've heard me say this, but the most impactful incident that I've had since I've been in this role, we were able to help a young person who had been incarcerated for 7 years as a young person to navigate returning home. And at the end of that court proceeding, I was approached at my car in the parking lot, which is always a little bit, makes you a little bit nervous, right? And the person, told me that I should be ashamed of myself for the work that I'm doing. And that person happened to be the relative of someone that was harmed by the person that we were supporting. And it really changed. I mean, I sat in the car for a long period of time, and there were tears that were shed because I never felt that I would get that type of feedback from what I'm viewing as harm reduction work. So to your point, I've been in contact with quite a few stakeholders about how can we get more connected. I try not to say victims, but try to get more connected to people who are harmed to make sure that they are not being ignored in this process, because we don't want to lose them as allies, because chances are that young person was chances are a black or a male of color, right? And the person who committed the harm, chances are, was a male of color. So either one of those people could have easily been in the opposite position. The person harmed could have been the one. So we absolutely want to not ignore those folks. Go ahead.
Let's work together, David. I have to get off this meeting at 1:15 because we meet monthly with the DAs in the SYTF that cover the SYTF population. And also we've met with Director Lucero at OICR on a proposal that would focus the needs of survivors and work more intentionally with the families of both sides. So let's talk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Sorry, I don't know.
No, it was us.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for the presentation, Mr. Carroll. We will contact you after the meeting and gather all the information requested by the members and include that in the minutes for the record, as well as post that online. Let's see, what else? We can also the requests for Mr. Carroll to attend a future policy and legislative subcommittee meeting. We will agendize that for the next meeting. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Sorry for missing that. But I'm sure it was a great presentation. I know all the work that DYD is doing, and that's why I wanted David to come present today. I guess it's time for break now. So let's take a break. I know we went over time. We're adjust our time, so let's take a break. Let's assume it's 1 o'clock now, and let's come back at 1:30, and we resume our agenda. I think the next part of the agenda is going to be update, which should be pretty fun and interesting to hear. So yeah, so at 1:30 we're back. Everybody fine? 1:30. So turn off your screen if you want to, unmute though. Everybody here, go get some food. Yeah. All right, let's welcome everybody back. Let's start again our second half of the meeting. We have probably like 2 hours left, probably or so, or maybe less. Welcome everybody back. I hope everybody was able to get some lunch, some coffee, whatever is gonna energize you for the other half of the day. Yeah, so now we're gonna basically I'm gonna transition our meeting to, well, again, I want to just thank again David Carroll and Wendy Julian for your presentations earlier today. There was a lot of questions asked, a lot of follow-ups maybe that needs to be done. So thank you both for, flying all the way from LA to Sacramento to give us some amazing presentations. And I'm sure a lot of us are gonna leave this meeting with more information and inspired to want to do more in our areas of work. With that, I'm gonna pass it to Krista, who's gonna help us facilitate the next part, which is gonna be updates from our subcommittees. And we're gonna hear all that about that amazing work. And right now, I'll pass it to Crystal to lead that part of the agenda.
Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome back from the lunch break. I'd like to highlight some of the many accomplishments we've made in our first year of launching this subcommittee or this committee. So before we move into the updates from the subcommittees, I would like to highlight that we have completed 4 quarterly meetings in 2025 in Sacramento. And we launched 5 subcommittees under SACJJDP, and they are the Community Investment and System Accountability for Youth Justice, which held, by the way, 4 public meetings in 2025. The Policy and Legislative Advocacy Subcommittee held 5 public meetings this year. Racial and Ethnic Disparities Subcommittee held 2 public meetings. Restorative Justice held their first public meeting this year, and the Youth and Emerging Leaders Subcommittee held their first public meeting this year. So just want to congratulate the progress that the subcommittees have made this year. And although there are a certain number of public meetings that were held, there was plenty of meetings just held, period, just to form the subcommittee. So lots of work behind the scenes. And thank you for all that have been involved in that work. Some other highlights, we had orientation provided by our partners at our federal partners on just SAG State Advisory Committee orientation that was given earlier this year. We approved the Title II 3-year report for the 2025 through 2027 year. And our bylaws were approved earlier this year at the September SACJJDP meeting. And so of the public meetings held between the subcommittees, there were 13. So that's a huge accomplishment. It's a lot of work being done out of this group. So now I would like to turn it over to the subcommittees, which, so you all know, this will be a regular portion of the agenda for the meetings ongoing. Time set aside to hear from the subcommittees and the work that you all are doing. So we'd like to ask the chairs and representatives from the subcommittees to take a few moments and share out with the members your responses to the following questions. How did things go for the subcommittee, for your subcommittee in 2025? And what do you anticipate in 2026? So we'll have time to hear from each subcommittee and then take member questions and comments. And as Chair Mendoza said at the beginning of the meeting, I really encourage you all to engage amongst each other, provide feedback and reflections on what you learned, what the challenges are, what are your goals for next year. And we will start off with the Policy and Legislative Advocacy Subcommittee. So whoever would like to just speak to the work that you're doing. Dr. Porter?
Great, well, thank you. So again, we are I'm one of the co-chairs for the Policy and Legislative Advocacy Subcommittee, and I'm pleased to report on how things went this year. Pleased to report that we are now fully established. We have confirmed a 5-member subcommittee intentionally composed to bring together policy insights, system knowledge, and a commitment to equitable juvenile justice reform. Alongside me in leadership in the chair role or co-chair role is Dr. BJ Davis. He was also a member here. We also have Commissioner Joanna Rasmussen, who is our newest subcommittee board member there. And then we have Dr. Maria Leon and Charlie Nguyen in that. So we're happy to be able to be in that place and have our subcommittee membership established right there. I want to thank all the help from staff, Darius, Crystal, Fatima, and LaRon for helping us with this. In 2026, we're looking to begin our work focusing on the Juvenile Deferred Entry of Judgment program. We want to make sure that that is maximized. In the state of California, it's given to our, we become aware through our early review that the program is being underutilized across counties. And so we want to make sure that it is fully maximized within the counties so it can bring this, the program benefits to all of those who are qualified for it. So we're looking at that. And Dr. BJ Davis, I know there's some other things you want to talk about in terms of inviting a collaborative, and this is for 2026, meeting with our with the RED subcommittee. And would you like to expound on that?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Forrest. And excuse my absence from yesterday. I had a family emergency. I talked to Darius this morning, and I'm probably going to be talking to you after our meeting. But yeah, the thing that that Dr. Porter and the subcommittee I'm on, which I'm very happy to be a part of, is that we have in common is we want to see things done, and our approach to this has been, what can we do? What can we actually do as it relates to policy and legislation? And in fact, we had some significant conversations about what we can't do and advocacy versus legislating, and trying to define exactly how we could influence these things. And it was an interesting conversation. And part of our looking at what we can do and so we wanted to look and see what was being done. We did find that the deferred entry of judgment seemed to be underutilized, and it was really hard to kind of get the numbers, the information on it. And and we're trying to get a little bit more data. But one of the things that stood out to us when we did look into it a little bit more with the help from staff was that there seems to be a disparity as it relates to who's using it and being able to take advantage of it. And it disproportionately affects people of color, which was indicated by the previous presenter as well. And so that's a concern for me. And it also seems as if I'm in the RED subcommittee as well. So the conversations that we were having in our subcommittee about policy and legislation were very similar to the conversations that we were having in the RED subcommittee around disparities and outcomes. And so I just thought that it made sense, since we were talking about the same, we were very much talking about the same thing. And this could be an area where we could actually do something, where we could actually get the information we need and be able to present a report. I guess that's how we advocate, because there's issues around what's advocacy and what's legislated. But anyway, but that we could actually give some teeth to the disparities, which I think is probably going to increase as a result of the kind of the tone of how things are now, as it relates to the current administration's focus on reducing DEI and that kind of thing. But and anything related to that. So that's where we've been working. That's what we've been doing. We've had some very lively conversations about it. We've actually had presentation, and I think that we want to speak to the RED subcommittee chair and possibly have maybe a joint meeting or some type of collaboration going in the new year. So does that sound right, Dr. Porter?
That's great. Yeah, exactly. So who is the chair for the red subcommittee?
Not sure.
Judge Beck.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that'll be our ask for 2026 to see if we can work together with that. That's it.
Sure, are there any, you can ask your question.
Just had a question. I was curious about kind of how you guys came to focusing on the deferred entry of judgment piece and wanting to promote that. Because my understanding of that has always been that it's kind of a way for probation to put you on probation, even though you've actually never been adjudicated of anything. And so it's kind of like I know it's informal probation and is kind of almost a form of diversion, but it's probation supervised diversion almost. So I'm just curious how, what your guys' the presentation that you heard and maybe your different perspective on that, because mine might be outdated.
Dr. Porter, did you want to?
Yeah, and I was waiting for the mic, but you want to jump in? Go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay. So,
you're the chair. You go. I'm Robin to your Batman in this case.
No. All right. So, well, first it was brought to us through staff, and I believe there was a bill that was the extension of this program, if I remember correctly, that came to the legislature, and that's when we found out that this was not being utilized or maximized throughout the county as well. One of the things that came out to me is that the program allows basically I'm forgetting the word, cancellation of the record, right? Once eligible youth are able to go through the program. And so it's expungement, if you will, automatic expungement. And so with it not being presented to all youth, it seemed like it's been underutilized. And so that brought red flags for us and said, hey, we may be able to need to look into this and see if there's any things that we can highlight, especially anything that's might be disproportional in who this is giving to. Or present to. Yes.
Yeah, and thank you for allowing me to chime in for a moment. Catherine Lucero, Director of OICR, former judicial officer for 22 years, big user of DPJ. So it's for a nonviolent felony. So it's an opportunity to admit the behavior, but hold off on the judgment, hence deferred entry of judgment. The contract under the law is 1 year. And if certain things are accomplished, notably no further problems, then it is though it is never adjudicated, the finding is never made, the case is dismissed. So I do agree that there is underutilization. It was not my county, Santa Clara County, because I felt it was a very good tool. But there's also other factors, like it's a 1 year commitment. So some defense counsel doesn't think their client needs a 1 year commitment. They think they need a 6 month solution. So there's different ways to look at it. But I do know that there are counties that don't use it routinely, and it could be a great advantage to you. So those are my insights on that.
Thank you for that.
And Carly, the reason it got on our radar is because when it was presented to us, because there was just a list of pending legislation, so that for us to kind of just get an overview of kind of what's pending and what's there and what can be worked on and what we might want to focus on. But this came up as a pilot program, and it's like 10 years old. And so we were confused as to how something that old could be a pilot program. And then the other part was when we dug into it was that there were counties that originally were part of it, and then then counties opted out. And so we also were we were just interested, curious as to, why what counties stayed in and why, and what counties opted out and why. And so that's what put it on our radar. And so that's when we started looking into it more closely and asking for feedback on it, and resulting in what Dr. Porter just shared with you as to what we're trying to focus on going forward. If we can see if we can possibly make this more readily, more available to more potential youth that could benefit from it, and really trying to figure out, who uses it and who doesn't, and why there are, and what the disparities are. So that's how it got on our radar.
Thank you, Member Davis. I just wanted to add that the presentation made to the Legislative and Policy Committee on pending bills, as Dr. Davis mentioned, included AB 1258, which was an extension of an adult deferred entry judgment pilot program. There are a small handful of counties across the state that are in a pilot program, and with our legislative analyst presented the set of bills that OICR was reviewing, and we were asked to work more on the adult deferred entry of judgment. We brought in our expert subject matter consultant, Laurent Dennis. She made a presentation about the youth deferred entry of judgment, the ones that Dr. Sarah just mentioned. And from there, the discussion flowed into the racial disparities on who is using adult deferred entry of judgment within the juvenile system across the state. And that's where the conversation about perhaps we come back.
Okay. Judge Back, I'm going to pass it to you, but first I just want to confirm, because I feel like you'll have the answer, or maybe Director Lucero. It is an opt-in. DEJ is opt-in by county?
That is not my memory. Laurent is on Teams. She's our juvenile legal expert. I don't believe it's an I believe the DA is supposed to be identifying before filing what qualifies, and then taking that to probation and sorting it that way. So it's opt-in for the youth, but I don't believe it's opt-in for the county for juvenile DEJ.
Thank you.
Judge Back?
Yeah, following up on Chair and Judge Lucero's comments, I mean, she's right on. It's Welfare and Institutions Code Section 790. It's not an opt-in. It is a standing statute. And just like Judge Lucero indicated, the district attorney is required to prepare a document that indicates whether or not the child is eligible or not for the DEJ program. And as indicated by Judge Lucero, it's based upon basically non-violent felonies. Certain violent felonies, you're not going to be eligible for the program, but it's still a felony situation, and there is an admission. And if you violate the DEJ terms, you're done. You cannot come back and say, "Oh, I didn't mean it." You will now be given that conviction for what you admitted to. But if you're successful on DEJ, everything goes away. And just Carly, in connection with your first question, so it's not an informal probation where the kid would not have to admit anything. But I think, and that's commonly referred to as a 654.2, which is again the Welfare and Institutions Code. But I would think in both the DEJ and the 654.2, that is really something that, Red and the Policy and Legislative Committee should look into together. I could be very wrong on this, but I would think with the DEJ, we might find the reverse, if you will, of what we might anticipate and who is eligible for, and actually gets accepted into that program. And again, like Judge Sarah said, the attorney and the child have to agree that they're going to go in the DEJ. They could just say, no, we're not accepting DEJ. We're going to contest on this, and we're going to have a trial. So yeah, so when we say deferred entry of judgment in this context, we're not talking about an opt-in situation. We're talking about a statute that's been around for quite a while.
Yeah, I think the opt-in was a pilot program that had to do with reporting.
Okay, yeah.
So, and so there was, because there were people, I don't know the staff can tell more, but we were looking at, and there were counties that were providing the data, and then counties that opted out of doing it. And so that's what just got us curious about it.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Yeah.
It was called
two separate programs.
Yeah,
adult program was the pilot, and then their youth program, which is a long-standing, so that's settled law, right? That should be offered there and everything. And so, and when we saw that is still being underutilized, that brought up our concern. Our first initial concern was, why is this adult program, not many counties were participating in this 10-year pilot. And then with more further information, we wanted to have to dig it deeper. We say, okay, if this youth program is long-standing and is settled law, then it should be hopefully maximized in its utilization.
Yeah, and I had another question too, is because we're in the place that we are in right now in 2025 or so, and we're really looking to like programs like DYD and the RAY program and really more diversion. Would youth that could go into DEJ, would they not be eligible for diversion? Is that why we would like lean more towards diversion than really focus on let's do more DEJ? Is it because of the eligibility?
It would depend on the time. It's not a straight shot, because at the end of the day, as Judge and Judge Sarah mentioned, it's up to the VA to push the project, and if it works for the youth, then they take it. The issue that we discussed at the subcommittee level, of payments and numbers, was that it's not being used by, which is also a concern. But there's no clear switch on and off. We have to explore all options. This kind of option as well.
We're getting some good legal interpretations as well, that most diversion is informal supervision, which is for misdemeanors. And this is a felony level diversion for non-violent felonies. So that's a distinction. But again, I saw the strategies in court where even the DEJ 1-year contract felt like too much for defense counsel. So they wanted something less like a 6-month opportunity. So it really just depends, like Chief Counsel is stating, it just depends on the charge and the youth and their attorney.
Okay, any other comments on the Policy and Legislative Advocacy Subcommittee? All right, if not, we will move on to the Restorative Justice Subcommittee.
Hello, my name is Jessica Ellis, and I'm Executive Director of Centinela Youth Services and have the honor of serving as co-chair on the Restorative Justice Subcommittee. So I'm here to share with you about our committee. We have just finalized our charter, which I will share, and talk about some things that we're looking at moving forward. And just want to share for folks in the room that all of these subcommittee meetings are open to the public, and all of our information is on the SACJJDP's website, and we're welcome to have folks attend, learn more about restorative justice, and participate in public comment. So The SACJJDP established the Restorative Justice Subcommittee to bring in subject matter experts, including people directly impacted by the youth court system and folks with experience with restorative justice, to bring information to this larger committee to help inform this committee's plans from the perspective of what further is possible when we take healing-centered practices into this work and empower the voices and decisions of those closest to the harm incident, which would be the person who was harmed and the person who caused harm. And as the mission of the SACJJDP includes promoting effective restorative justice policies and programming, and whereas restorative justice and healing practices have shown to be highly effective programming, part of what we'll be doing is bringing some more information to this committee about how restorative justice can be further implemented and expanded throughout various opportunities within the justice system and to prevent justice system contact. So we just finalized our charter, which will tell you a lot more about what our committee plans to do. And so I'm going to read that here. So our subcommittee purpose of the Restorative Justice Subcommittee is to advance healing-centered, community-rooted approaches to accountability by promoting restorative justice practices, understanding historical and systemic trauma, prioritizing relationship building, repairing harm, and centering impacted voices. The subcommittee will work collaboratively to challenge punitive and exclusionary systems by promoting restorative alternatives, support policy transformation that uplifts community-led restorative justice practices, build capacity across institutions and communities to implement restorative justice frameworks that uphold safe, trauma-informed collective care with dignity, and move beyond oversimplified victim-offender binaries, recognizing the complex experiences of trauma, harm, and healing. And moving forward to the next slide. Our subcommittee responsibilities will include gathering insights from stakeholders, including youth with lived experience, meaning they have been impacted by incarceration, harmed parties and survivors who've been impacted by harm caused by youth, justice system workers and restorative justice practitioners, and we'll do that through listening sessions. We have the Youth Advisory Board is a member of our committee, and through further interviews. We will contribute to discussions and the development of policy recommendations of the SACJJDP on youth restorative justice issues. So we'll be speaking to what we'll be doing down the road. We'll be looking at this, the SACJJDP's 3-year plan. And as you're looking at needing to renew that plan very soon, we plan to review that and bring recommendations for where restorative practices can be better woven through future plans. We'll connect with restorative justice leaders and experts to identify topics salient to the 3-year plan or other SACJJDP priorities. We will engage in restorative justice policy initiatives that align with the committee's purpose. And next slide, a bit about our membership. The subcommittee will consist of up to 15 members, including the chair, a co-chair, and a diverse group of practitioners. We currently have numerous community-based RJ program experts, as well as folks from local government that have responsibilities around youth programming, and folks from the prosecution and court experience from a professional perspective. And then the chair and the subcommittee will select and conduct outreach for members of the subcommittee. OICR will also assist with the outreach. The subcommittee will make a final decision via a vote. And members should have varied restorative justice experiences from across the state, including survivors, young people with lived experience in the system, mental health practitioners, education experts, regional and national experts. Thank you. Next slide. Our meeting information, our committee will meet no less than once a month, sometimes more frequently, as needed. And they will be virtual. And again, that information is on the SACJ website. I will add also that the discussion, circling back to the discussion about deferred entry of judgment, I believe we have some members that have had success in incentivizing judges to use deferred entry of judgment by referring young people into community-based restorative justice programs, where once the young person has made things right with the harmed party, then judges essentially use DEJ to drop charges. Typically, and it could still be without probation supervision or very limited probation supervision. So that we will touch base with that committee and see if we can cross-pollinate on some ideas there. So thank you. Open to any questions. Oh, sorry, one more thing. I do want to land on a specific example to really help people. A lot of folks don't know a lot about restorative justice, or may just have some impressions from how it might have been distorted in a school-based setting. So I want to share, we had a young person that probation called us about. The young person had been on probation for 5 years, and the probation officer could not get the court to drop or close the case. And the young person was about to turn 18. And so out of desperation, the probation officer reached out to our community-based RJ program asking for help. What he said, the probation officer shared that he had put this young person through every program he could think of. He made this kid go through anger management classes, even though he didn't show signs of needing anger management classes. He'd made him do 150 hours of community service, and all kinds of other programming that even the probation officer felt was unnecessary. But the harmed party, the crime victim, wanted money and wanted $1,000 for the damages. The young person's family was so poor they didn't even have regular access to food. So they had no money to give. And the court would not close the case because restitution had not been paid. And so we brought the parties together. When we reached out to the harmed party, who was a principal of a school where 5 laptops had been stolen by this young person, even though the incident happened 5 years earlier, the principal was still very hurt, very upset, and said to us, "I'm not coming to this meeting unless you can guarantee me $1,000 for my damages." And we shared we couldn't guarantee anything, but that she had a say in the process, and we welcomed her to come in and share what her concerns were, and she could certainly make that request. When we brought the parties together, the young person started off speaking, and he still felt so guilty about this. This had been his principal. They had had a relationship. And when she saw the genuine guilt all over him, she melted instantly and ended up being really happy with a letter of apology and no money. And we could have done that 5 years earlier and saved that family so much contact with the justice system, and given that harmed party, the principal, the healing that she needed. She needed an apology. And the problem is that our system really only has money to ask for. So the more upset we are, the more money we ask for, but that doesn't mean we can get that. And so through restorative justice, we can get to true healing, faster resolution, and either limit kids, prevent young people from even seeing incarceration, or limit that time, or even get young people out sooner because they've made a shift. They can now be in community safer because they've learned something, they've made things right. The harmed party has been made whole, or at least feels better that real accountability has happened. So that's the real possibility with this that we want to bring forth into this committee. Thanks. And now I'll open up to questions. Thank you.
I have questions, but I will say that this committee has been very diligent in the work they do, meeting, working, creating the charter, and it's exciting to see it. But yeah, that's all. Carol.
I don't have any questions. I just again want to say that Jessica's been in this a very long time and she's been doing a fabulous job for a very long time. And just in the example that she gave shows how important communication is when you're dealing all over the place with the parents. And I just want to congratulate you, Jessica, for the extraordinary work you've been doing. And I hope this committee can help a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, not a question, but a comment. Dr. Porter, Jessica, thank you for sharing that. We would love to have your insights in regards to the DJ program and whatever else for our subcommittee, the policy and legislative advocacy subcommittee. So we would love to have you be a guest at one of our meetings.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, so next we will move on to the Racial and Ethnic Disparities Subcommittee chaired by Judge Mack.
Good afternoon again, everybody. I just want to say I continue to be so happy that I am part of this committee. And when you look at all the names up here of people who are so genuinely interested in juvenile justice, it's really kind of mind-blowing. And some of the folks we all know have been doing this for years. So I just want to say I'm just so grateful to be a part of this. So the Red Committee, we had our second meeting on October 27th. That's how we celebrated my wife's birthday, which was on that day. We have 11 members on our committee. I just want to just go through real quickly who they are, because you may know some of them and maybe you confer with them. We have Christina Peoples, who is founder and executive director of the Amelia Ann Adams Whole Life Center, and that's primarily, I think, in the Stockton area. We have Dr. B.J. Davis. You may have heard of him before. We have Laura Rodolfi. She is with the Burns Institute. Micaela Galvez Venegas, Youth Advisory Board member, and Victoria Birch, a Youth Advisory Board member. Sergio Coronel, founder of the Youngsters for Change, and he is a gang consultant. William Feather, he's a Unified School District social worker and a member of the Round Valley Indian Tribes. And Sandra McBrayer, who is the CEO of the Children's Initiative out of San Diego. And Sandra actually chaired the SACJ committee for several years, up until a couple of years ago. So we had our second meeting, and one thing that we had determined from our first meeting is we needed to have a co-chair for the committee. And Dr. B.J. Davis was nominated by William Feather, and B.J.'s got a lot of work on his plate, and he very, very kindly, acknowledged the nomination, but indicated that he would withdraw his name. Sandra McBrayer was also nominated, and same thing. She's working real hard. And as it turns out, all of them, of course, ended up nominating Christina Peoples. And Christina is now our co-chair. Again, Christina is the founder and executive director of the Amelia Ann Adams Whole Life Center. Just received, I think Cecilia and others of us received a email from Christina this morning. She's working with families, I think, who have been impacted by the events that had occurred up in Stockton. So she's been very busy working with those folks. So at our meeting, and again, it was only the second meeting, and as I discussed at the beginning of each meeting, red is such an easy issue to deal with, isn't it? I mean, you talk about a challenge, and I know all of the subcommittees are dealing with challenging areas, but of course, the problem with red is we have to deal with human beings, and they're very challenging in and of themselves. But it really is a very challenging issue. One of the things we decided, and this was kind of funny, actually, once we got our 11-member committee together, we realized we had nobody from Los Angeles area. That was a very huge gap. And so we needed to address that. And Laura followed up and has contacted at least 3 individuals. And Mikael Venegas was going to contact another one. And so we're working on bringing in at least one member from the Los Angeles area. I mean, it's a little silly not to have the biggest dog in town be part of the committee where we're dealing with such important issues. The other thing which I've kind of encouraged, and both BJ and Sandra were in favor of this. In the past, SACJ has had a law enforcement member as part of our group. And beyond just probation, we're talking a sheriff, a marshal, somebody who's wearing a badge. Because with red, with diversion, certainly one of the first contacts on the street is with that law enforcement officer. Now, I don't know if that's the first contact where red might be come into issue, because that first contact actually could come in the education area. Unfortunately, we've all heard stories of significant red issues inside our schools, things that have to be addressed. But at a minimum, we think it's important to have law enforcement involved in our committee. So we're looking to expand the committee, not hugely, because we don't want to get a super big committee, but at least someone from Los Angeles and also someone from the law enforcement area. And I've been in contact with two people locally. One, a former sheriff of city of Oxnard. And Oxnard, if you're unaware, in Ventura County here, has significant gang issues and crime issues, both adult and juvenile. So I'm working on that. When we met on October 27th, several of our members are new to, or newer, I guess, to the juvenile justice system in terms of what we're trying to do at our level, at the SACJ level and at the subcommittee level. So we went just through a little history of, what SACJ can do, what it's supposed to do, things that I know Carol and BJ and Carly and others will know immediately what I'm saying. One of our charges is to be a direct advisor to the governor of the state of California. And that's always been a frustrating situation for us because of our inability, if you will, to be able to do that. So we discussed that with our Red Committee members, just so everybody would have a feel of where we are in the bigger constellation here under SACJ. We talked about what's the purpose of the committee? Well, it's in our name. It's reducing racial and ethnic disparities in the juvenile system. Can't state it, any more succinctly than that. But we need to dig a lot deeper. So, for example, when we say we need data, we got to make sure we know what data we need. We don't want to just gather data for data's purpose. We want to know if, for example, we should concentrate on data that occurs at that first contact on the street by a law enforcement officer with a kid who's never had contact with the juvenile justice system before, and whether there are red issues that are apparent there. So there's a lot of digging that we need to do to come up with what type of data we need. And I'll give you two examples. And I think Scott McDonald's on here. I think I saw his name. And so he's familiar with this one out of Santa Cruz. Up in Santa Cruz several years ago, and I shared this with the Red Committee, up in Santa Cruz several years ago, they had a consistent situation of violation of parole with kids not showing up for their, probation, not showing up from their probation meetings. Well, a little bit of digging told them that they all came from a particular area of the county and there was no transportation. So they ended up providing transportation, and guess what? The VOPs went down drastically. These kids were able to report because they had the ability to get there. That's a very simple example, but it might be simple examples that we end up being able to use to assist in reducing red issues. In Ventura County, we did our data digging and found out that most of the time that some of the kids were coming back into the facility was due to not new crimes, but violations of probation. So probation got their act together and really started focusing on, what VOPs do we really need to act on to bring a kid into custody when we all know that custody is not great for the kid. by looking at that and adjusting some of their approaches on it, it drastically reduced the kids that were coming into custody because of what I would characterize as very basic, simple VOPs. Instead, diversions were used to assist those kids. So we do have a lot of work, and I'm telling you, there's some superstars on this committee. I mean, Laura Rodolphe with the Burns Institute has been working on RED for a long time. So I'm excited about that. We agreed that we would meet every 2 months, and we're kind of waiting for today's meeting to see when SACJ was going to meet so that we could adjust our meetings and be able to report appropriately when SACJ comes up as to what we were doing. So that is where we are on RED. And let's see if anybody has any questions. I'll ask BJ to answer them. Well, thank you, everybody. And again, it's great to see everybody.
You did a
Even
good
Ron.
job, Judge Beck.
Okay, are there any other comments? If no other comments, we will move on to the Community Investment and System Accountability Subcommittee.
Okay. How things went for us? I think things went well. It was really great that we were able to have our 4 meetings with your support, Crystal, and Christian has been amazing as well. One of the main things that we wanted to do is have current and former Title II grantees present in our meetings. And so we had 2 presentations in those meetings. One of the things that, in reflecting on the year, one of the things we realized is that we greatly enjoyed those presentations, but it didn't give us as much time as a subcommittee to really talk about our direction and how to be productive and what it is that we want to do. And so in our last meeting, we didn't have a presentation, but we talked about our future steps. And so as we look forward to 2026, we decided that we want to have 90-minute monthly meetings instead of 60 minutes so that we can still carve out that half-hour slot for grantees to come and present and talk about their services and what they're doing. And then we also still have that time as a committee to discuss. And then one of the things me and Andrew, the co-chair, we met yesterday to start planning for our January meeting. And one of the things that we talked about with the full subcommittee was maybe moving forward with a needs assessment, kind of like a small needs assessment among kind of starting with probably the current Title II grantees to really think about, to try to get more information from them about how we can support them as a subcommittee, because we have some ideas about what we want to do around like connecting CBOs and grantees together and making sure that they have access to learn from each other and also so we can learn from them. But we also kind of want to confirm that that's something that they need and want. And so we want to present some ideas about how to move forward on that, on conducting a needs assessment in 2026. So we'll present that to the subcommittee in January. And then in discussing that, one of the things that did come up, that has come up several times, is that when we had the presentation on the JJCs and the JJDPs and all acronym soup and these different commissions, right? And their different priorities and goals and kind of, and just how there's a lot of confusion around them. And so my co-chair is also a commissioner in Tulare County. And I shared those slides that we had from our SAG committee meeting, and he shared them with his commission, and they were like, oh, we didn't even know some of these things. And so as we were kind of talking about this needs assessment for, grantees and CBOs and whatnot, one of the things that we kind of floated was, well, maybe we need to be connected more with the JJCs that can kind of help with our kind of second pillar of our subcommittee, which is the accountability piece, right? And so I kind of wanted to pose something to you all to see if you had any ideas around like whether in OICR, I know you guys provide a lot of TA to some of these groups, but we were kind of floating the idea, do we need to also do some type of survey or needs assessment type thing with these JJCs to see how we might be able to support them and connect them? Or is there a way to maybe just kind of jump to providing them some type of TA, but you guys kind of already do that, OICR. So I don't know, I just kind of wanted to, I just feel like this issue around the JJCs keep coming up around kind of confusion around what they can do and the kind of the differences across the state among them, and just making sure that they're empowered also and have what they need. I don't know. So just kind of throwing that out, because I know some folks, I think you guys have been commissioners or are commissioners. So I'll just pause there, see if you have any reactions.
I mean, for me, when I'm hearing you speak, I would think that there is some kind of, from these JJCCs, like how is there something that they can report back that is something that we can stick on the wall that then go back to and say, oh, well, this county is really having a hard time moving this, right? Like that's the first thing that comes to my mind, because I think the redundancy of, even like, how does someone like yourself or someone from this committee go into one of these meetings, right, and see what they're doing? Or how do we get someone from each JJCC to then come back to us and report to us, or at least share some highlights? I don't know. That's what comes up for me when I'm hearing you speak.
I mean, I would also add, the PLC just got a budget kind of subcommittee too. So that's something also you probably could plug in potentially, if you were doing like a needs assessment. I think it's just like perfect timing if you wanted to do something like that where you can plug into the PLC. And because LA County has millions of dollars in just sitting, so it's something that I think your subcommittee could plug into, and then just do some connections throughout LA County and do it in other counties as well. And I think it's a good idea to do a needs assessment, see what these counties need or what they are missing, or what's the bigger overall picture for these counties, or where do they see this stuff going. And I think this is what our overall committee is for, is how we keep young people out and what needs do each county need to keep young people out.
Yeah. Okay. That's helpful. I feel like then we're leaning in the right direction. So we will continue to kind of lean and kind of flesh out what that would look like perhaps though in 2026.
I sit on the JGCC too in LA County, so I don't know how I could help.
Okay.
I have a meeting tomorrow with them.
Okay.
Oh, and also David does too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we actually do have this as a priority in 2026. Marcia is on the line. And she can give you an idea of what we're currently doing and what we plan to do. So Marcia, do you want to mute?
I think, hello, good afternoon. Could you hear me okay?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I want to just share that Darius and myself have been working, Darius really taking the lead, working with a coalition that has been created by Commissioner Rasmussen out of San Mateo. And through that coalition, there's, I want to say out of 58 counties, not that all 58 have JJCs or JJDPCs, but they have created a coalition of about 30 plus individuals. And through them are very interested not only in training, but also technical assistance from OICR. And so we've created 2 different surveys, one that would go to the chair of the JJC, the other one would go to the members of the JJCs to ask them a variety of questions about, you know, as they've come in, did they get an orientation? Do they understand their role? Do they have procedures and or orientations and or policies and procedures? So a variety of different kinds of questions to see, instead of just picking out of the air what kinds of trainings, that we actually help them create the trainings that they need. And so through this process, we're hoping that we can really nail down the differences, but also the commonalities in sharing the types of trainings, and then really doing peer-to-peer training There's a couple of JJCs that are doing excellent work. We want to uplift some of those individuals and have them do trainings for their peers. So it's, it's ongoing work. There is a university, I believe, out of San Diego that was also a couple of professors doing research that were also very interested in this area of work. And when they asked us questions, they're the same questions that live on these surveys. So I think we're on the right path. Everyone seems to be asking these kind of same questions. And so once we get the results from these surveys, we can actually maybe come and share them here with this group subcommittee and just keep you updated as to this work.
That's so wonderful. I'm so glad I asked because it sounds like you guys are already doing kind of at least one of the pieces that we were thinking about doing. And so I will wait to kind of see what you guys learn from that. Also happy to support the analysis of that or kind of digesting those results. I'm very interested in that. So happy to hear that. Don't ever want to double up efforts. So I'm glad that that came up.
Absolutely. Glad that we could respond.
I just had a clarification. So this is an OICR coalition led thing?
No, it's led by a group of, peers, colleagues that are already commissioners.
And OICR just supporting them, right?
They've come to us for technical assistance, yes.
That's one. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask, just in terms of timing, do you know when those surveys are planning to go out?
I'm gonna say early next year.
Okay.
It's gonna happen towards the end of this year. Yes, absolutely. And we can inform you exactly when they will go out.
Okay, perfect.
I just wanted to add two things. One, when we first stood the office up, we did send out an invitation to a listserv that we found of all the JCC chairs, and we did have a meeting. And that's when we started understanding the need for intentional effort. We've also talked to the SEC about some co-training because there is some training that goes on around inspections. We're not wanting to take over that piece necessarily, but we do want to take over some of the other inquiries that we're getting about their scope, how they access certain things in the county, that kind of thing, which when I was in county, I worked very closely with our Juvenile Justice Commission. So I just want you to know this has been percolating, and Marcia took this as one of her priorities for systems change and equity to really shore up this relationship.
It's great. Okay, thank you so much. I guess my final update is that the time that we decided on actually coincides with our SAG meetings now. So we'll be looking for a new time, but we will be meeting monthly in 2026. And I think that is all of my updates.
Thank you. All right, so now we will move on to our last subcommittee, the Youth and Emerging Leaders Subcommittee.
Thank you. So to your first question of how we doing, I gotta say, young people are hard. Especially the young people we have, like amazing young people are hard, and specifically these young people. I think one of our youth is a former foster youth who was going to Cal State LA and also on a youth advisor. As a youth commissioner in LA County. Another one was taking finals and just graduated from Berkeley, but also formerly incarcerated. So so how have we been doing? Personally, for all of those youth, they have been doing well. The committee, we at the start of it in our informal planning meetings, we got serious. I was serious about we need to include this. We need to make sure we have every single youth. It needs to be structured, this and that. But things just don't work that way with young people, and I know that because it doesn't work that way for me. I'm not structured at all. But what I learned and what all of the members have tried to express to me is that we just got to keep the work going, and young people will come, right? We got to inspire other young people. We had our first formal meeting. We appointed our co-chair. It's a young lady who was formerly incarcerated. We also I've started to have one-on-ones with other subcommittee subcommittee members. I think right now we are at 7. Um, right now they're all in the lower region of California, and so we wanted to get to 15. So I'm reserving 8 spots for people in the Central Valley and the northern area. But for now, we just getting the work started, and we pushing on. Our next meeting is January 13th. We decided on a bi-monthly schedule, and that first meeting is going to be us really setting up and really getting everybody's voice involved. I think, and to everybody inside who is a chair of a subcommittee, I owe you all a member. I know. I will get it to you, I promise. But yes, we will just get that right away. And our co-chair has been very diligent, has been reaching out, has been talking to people, has been talking to some of the members, specifically Monte McKay and Isaiah Barber. She gave them a stern talking to. She was like, but no, it has been good. It has been something that we've learned from, and the work is something that we just want to push on to. And so to get those 8 members inside the northern region, we're creating a flyer. We tried to send emails, but young people don't look at emails. I don't even look at emails. So we're creating a flyer that they can scan directly, fill out a quick, nice form, and then they'll have a one-on-one meeting with me and the co-chair, and we will build it from there. Another thing that we've also plugged into, we've plugged into a Western regional thing for states in the Western region, who also have youth subcommittees inside their state advisory groups. We plugged in and trying to learn from them and all the work that they're doing, especially as we start ours and create a space for more young people, and create it where youth are not only just involved, but they are at the center of this. And so by each youth being in every state advisory group and being in all of these meetings and bringing all this information back, the whole goal is to write a report that really gives a meaningful overview to this state advisory committee about like what they should do around racial and ethnic disparities, around community reinvestment, around policy and legislative advocacy, right? Like, and have youth voice. And our vice chair just reminded me, we also got to have tribal and native youth involved, right? And just get as many people as possible involved. And so as we continue to learn and continue to grow, we'll just keep pushing towards our North Star, and hopefully it grows in that direction, and we write this report and we have something probably hopefully by the end of 2026 for this committee to look over.
I would just say, if anybody knows any young person that is able, willing, has the capacity to support the Youth Emerging Leaders Committee, please send that information to Tariq. I work on getting some myself too. And yeah, so maybe me and the vice chair should figure out how to support the emergency leaders. We're forming a car, so we should be able to do that. So yeah, let's do that. But if anybody knows any young person that wants to be a part of that, please share that information to Tariq. It would be greatly appreciated and helpful.
Great, thank you. Are there any other comments for youth and emerging leaders? Okay, so before we move on to the next topic, I would like to share the next meeting dates for some of the subcommittee meetings, just so everyone can know and hopefully participate. So the next meeting we have coming up would be for Youth and Emerging Leaders. Tuesday, January 13th is what we have currently calendared. And then we have Tuesday, January 20th, the Policy and Legislative Advocacy Subcommittee will be meeting that morning. And then that afternoon, or sorry, Wednesday, January 23rd, in the afternoon, the Community Investment and System Accountability Subcommittee will be meeting. So if any of you would like to participate, you can join those meetings. All right, and I'll turn it over to Pratima to go over the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act.
gonna be quick. I'm happy to take questions once I'm done. But if you have a wording question while this slide is on, please just unmute it and ask. So the reason that this presentation has been attached, all the slides have been attached because this is a public body and there are some specific rules that we have to all follow while conducting our role as appointed members. And when I say our, I'm pretending that I'm part of this agency, the advisory body. There are 3 principles to remember. All of the work that's being done by a public body has to happen openly, and all the deliberations have to be conducted openly. Notice I didn't say meeting, I said deliberations, and we'll get to a later slide where you'll understand why. And this is part of public policy. I don't need to read the slides for you. The most important thing is, besides the California Government Code having the entire Delinquency Act, this is also enshrined in our Constitution. The fact that we have to have open meetings. As you notice, the doors are not locked. Nobody needs to go through security to come in here. There are chairs. People can participate online. You also notice that online we don't restrict any participation. That doesn't mean that if there's disruption, we don't do something that we need to ensure that the meeting can happen the way it's supposed to. But reminding ourselves again and again that we are doing work for the public and we've got some rules that we need to follow. The 3 principal rules to follow is open and timely sufficient public notice of the meeting. So if you are co-chair, I know Chairman Mendoza and Co-Chair Franco, you get a lot of emails from us. The reason is that there's specific statutory requirements to publish the notice. For all members, if you're getting emails from us about agendas having been amended, things that got added, some movement in the presentation format, who's going first, who's going second, all of those changes also have to be publicly noticed and noticed timely. And then also remembering that closed session, this body has not had any closed sessions so far. Those are very limited, very specific, and only can happen for certain topics. I'll be happy to discuss offline if there's any more conversations about what goes on in a closed session of a public body, but this is an advisory body, so our work has to happen in public. So who are we? The 2 highlighted bullet points, these are all the different types of ways in which a public body can be created, and the 2 highlighted ones apply to this particular group, the State Advisory Committee on Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. And yes, I know we're going to work on changing the name, but for now, the SACJJ. And this is also part of California statute, but also in the federal statute, the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act. It requires every state to have a state advisory body appointed by the chief executive officer of the state, which for the state of California is the governor. When do we have to pay attention to the Delinquency Act? As you see, this is why I didn't use the word meetings. I said deliberations. Any action, any collective decision, commitment, promise, both by the members while sitting as a body, so today you're sitting as a body, but collective decisions, a motion, proposal, resolution, and deliberation is, there is case law as well, because there are ways for the public to file a complaint with the district attorney's office if there is a violation that they perceive happened during any type of public meeting conducted by a public body or an action that has been taken by members of the public body. Remembering that it's not just when you meet here today, and we'll get into that a little more in the next few slides. Because what really matters is the majority of members. There are rules. When we heard the subcommittee presentation, Dr. Dirk Heising was saying she met with the co-chair yesterday, right? That was for the purpose of planning, not for the purpose of doing the work. When she says, I met with my co-chair, she didn't say I met with the committee.
She didn't say that we discussed the 3 things we wanted to tackle and we're gonna give action items to all the committee members to do, none of that. She was talking about an operational or an administrative type of conversation regarding the next subcommittee meeting. And I know I'm kind of pulling it apart a lot. The idea here is to have you jog your memory in the work that you're doing as part of this advisory body, or the work that you're doing as a co-chair of the committee. And remembering that the rule of not having any deliberations in public applies when you are meeting and there is a majority. What is the simple rule? The simple rule is you cannot have a serial meeting. And the last bullet point, the rule of 2, I'll talk about it in a minute. What I mean by serial meeting. I don't know if you've noticed, we're trying to, when we send you emails, your emails are in BCC. There's a reason why we do that. Because if we send you all an email, everyone's email is in CC, and then you start saying, well, this doesn't work. And I liked the discussion around differential judgment. Well, is there a difference between differential judgment? Young people are different. What is happening now? You're actually talking about the subject matter that this advisory body is required to follow. And that discussion then becomes a serial meeting. Well, okay, Fatima, what if we just say, Wednesday doesn't work for me anymore, can we do Tuesday? How's that a meeting? That's not technically a meeting. It's okay if 16 of you want to have 75 minutes, I can't do math. But if that's what you want to do, you can do that, but we don't encourage that either. Why? Crystal, Christian, myself, Darius, all of your staff, Cecilia, Marcia, director, we are staff for the advisory body. We help with the operational and administrative portions of the work that you need to do, the substantive work, which you have been appointed by the governor to do for the public. So yes, perhaps 75 emails about the meeting date are okay, but you never know where in those 75 emails there's a substantive discussion that then becomes back and forth. Today, for example, during a meeting, one of our presenters called a member of the public who happened to be one of the contractors that work with our presenters. There was some back and forth that was happening. That was to inform the presentation. The subject matter of a publicly noticed meeting presentation was what was being discussed. If the member was just a member of the public attending the meeting, the back and forth would have to be, I may have had to request permission from the chair to address why the back and forth shouldn't happen. So the next question you may have in your mind is, but Fatima, something comes up during this meeting, which is important, which is critical, and this body wants to discuss it. What do you do? Well, as I said during the earlier part of the meeting, when there was a comment made about the possibility of changing the name of this committee, we could, as staff, help put it on the agenda for the next meeting, can be discussed and voted on, right? I know it feels like we're just getting stuck in bureaucratic back and forth, but again, for the member of the public who attended this meeting after having reviewed the agenda, they didn't know that that's what he would end up discussing. They had no opportunity to participate or give public comment on it. There was no information given to them, which then becomes a problem because your goal is to conduct all your work in public. And by the way, this applies to subcommittees as well. I think I have one of the bullet points that will say that. What is the rule of 2? The rule of 2, go back for one more second. I know that we've got co-chairs for our committees. One is definitely an appointed member of the SACJ, the other co-chair may or may not be. But the rule of 2, for example, Dr. Porter and Dr. Davis are both appointed members. And if the 2 of them meet with respect to some subject matters that relate to the committee or the SACJ, beyond that, if Dr. Durkheising is walking by and starts participating, that now is a problematic conversation. But if they're talking about the weather, it's not. And I say that because this is not something that prevents you from meeting with like-minded people or your co-members on the SACJ, it's not that you can't see them in public and just walk away, right? The goal is you can't talk about the substantive nature of the work that the governor has said you need to do on his behalf, on their behalf, for the state of California and its people. That's where your responsibility lies, your responsibility for public engagement. So I do have a slide on case law. We're not going to go over this. The only reason I have this is because you never know what could come up, right? And I would just say, if our staff is contacting you, but with respect to a meeting date versus our staff trying to explain to you what you should have, could have, and should discuss, that's the issue here, right? If 7 of you contact us separately, 7 of you contacted one at a time. It wasn't a serial meeting. It is considered if you're talking about the subject matter that falls within this body's purview. What is allowable? So again, no deliberation and any kind of operational discussions. As I said, substantive discussions is definitely an issue. If you are 3 members of a subcommittee, just be careful, even if you do a planning meeting. We as staff, we participate, we help you get to a planning meeting where you're picking the subject matter that you want to discuss versus actually talking about the content of what you want to discuss, right? It's 2 different things. You telling us, I know currently, for example, the next few months, staff has to get back to the Legislative and Policy Subcommittee some information about the youth differential of judgment related to statistics that were requested, right? That then if Dr. Porter or Dr. Davis starts to talk with our staff and starts to discuss the content of what our staff has found, that's the communication that is problematic. Because that discussion, you call us in a public meeting, you ask us questions here so that public can participate. If you want the public engagement, that's important. If all of you end up getting invited to an event where you're all present, absolutely, you get to go. And there's no prohibition. But if all of you sit down and say, well, Fatima was so boring, her 5 slides didn't have X, Y, or Z, I wonder if we can ask her this and ask her. Now that is not what you're supposed to do, because Fatima's right here asking the questions what the next meeting asks, so that the public has the opportunity to observe, participate, and comment. And the next 2 slides are specific because we continue to be allowed by state statute to have what's called a hybrid meetings. And the reason the title has advisory bodies in there is because there's a specific exemption for advisory bodies and members who appear via teleconference. If you're not an advisory body, there's a slightly separate requirement with respect to noticing the address of where a member is appearing via teleconference and ensuring that the public have access to it. But that law has now been extended to the end of 2026. So if you're an advisory body appointed member, such as an appointed member of SACJ, and if you appear via teleconference or Zoom in this case, all we need to do is to make sure that within 24 hours of the meeting, we notice the public on who's attending online and who's attending in person. I know Chairman Doza has been requesting us to try to attend in person. You also get lots of emails from us asking you. I know Dr. Porter asked you 3 times if you can make it in person. It's because 24 hours before the meeting, we have to notice the public who's attending in person, who's attending over teleconference. Also, if you have a subcommittee meeting or a committee meeting, the address for this meeting today, this address is available on the publicly available agenda. All your subcommittee meetings, you will see our L Street address and we'll have a staff member available. I know that for the Restorative Justice Committee meetings, we've had to go back to the drawing board in terms of the days that the committee will be meeting, because OICR staff needs to be able to be in the office in those days. Whether someone attends or not is not the question here. You have to make sure there's access and opportunity for people to attend. And the agenda that's posted 10 days before, both for committee meetings and for the full body meeting, needs to have the address and needs to have the information available to the public on how they can participate if they cannot make it in person, which is why you'll see the Zoom invite and everything on all of these meeting agendas. And then our staff member needs to be present in the physical location where the meeting will happen, and the information about our meeting, including the agenda, has to be posted. One last bullet point that's important is if you are a member that's appearing via teleconference, you're required to be visible on camera, and you are, unless there's a reason you can't, then definitely make sure that you say it during the public meeting, that you have to turn on my camera, whatever the reason may be. And when we record the minutes, we have to inform the public who attended in person and who's available online. Okay, so quickly. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my bad. Anybody has questions? No questions? Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Protima, appreciate it. Now I'm gonna, pass it to my Vice Chair Franco to lead public comment.
Thank you. We're about to open the floor for general public comment. When we begin, I am going to call for comments for first our youth, our young people in attendance, including any members from the Youth Advisory Board. I will then call for comment by members and subcommittee members here or online. And then we will open the floor for public comment. But before we do that, we're going to get a quick reminder about instructions for participation. So I will turn to Tara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, if you're joining via Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand and we will call upon you to make a comment. If you're joining by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and then *6 to unmute. If you're in the room, you can raise your physical hand, we'll call on you to make a comment. And if your comment is missed or you want to share additional feedback, please email SACJJDP@chhs.ca.gov. Turn it back to you for public comment, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Now we will turn to comments from the youth. Any youth in attendance that would like to comment? And or any youth advisory board members?
Hi, I just wanted to, it's Victoria from the Youth Advisory Board. I just wanted to say how thankful I am to be in this space and on the subcommittees that I'm on, as well as the other Youth Advisory Board members that have been able to participate in these meetings alongside me. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Appreciate you, Victoria. Thank you so much. Any other youth or members from the Youth Advisory comments? If not, we will turn to any members or subcommittee members to provide any additional comments. Judge. Sorry.
I just
we
wanted
can hear you now. Yeah.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Marcia and Cecilia on behalf of the Red Subcommittee. They are great supporters and directors of our subcommittee. So thank you to both of them.
Thank you. That's the Honorable Brian Beck, I'm sorry. Any other comments from our committee members? Anyone in attendance? Any other hands? Okay, the floor is open to any comments from members of the public. You have 2 minutes, max, for your time if you have any comments. Public, going once. Anybody? No? Thank you. With that, if there are no other questions here, we'll pass it to Chair Mendoza to adjourn our meeting.
Thank you. And yeah, and just a reminder, our next. Okay. Yeah. I request that if the members can stay here, so we could take a picture after, please stay on, please, after this is done, all right? We haven't had a good picture. It'll be a good picture for the holidays. But just we do a TikTok for the emerging leaders. But just a reminder, our next SACJJDP meeting is gonna be next year on March 18, 2026. So please, again, if you have not put it on your calendars, put it on your calendars, save the date. I would love to see many more members in this room next time we come back. And yeah, and please put any announcement that you may have on the chat, put them now, please. And I guess I just want to thank everybody, thank all the committee members for your continued participation and willingness to show up in person and virtually. I want to thank all the presenters. I want to thank David Carroll, Wendy Julian from Department of Development, POC, for just coming all the way from LA to provide us with some high-level overview of the amazing work that is happening in LA County. I want to thank all the OYCR staff for all the work that you have done to make this committee a successful body. And I'm looking forward to continue to work alongside y'all for next year. And just everybody that has been in attendance in this meeting, thank you all for this amazing year. Let's end strong, let's end with a good picture, and let's come back even stronger next year. And let's do it all for the youth. And again, the meeting's adjourned, but don't log off yet. We're gonna take a picture. We're gonna figure it out right here in the front. So other than that, thanks everybody. Great weekend and week and year and all.